Chapter 603. Yi Mansion. Fang Liuxin and Yi family's madam, Xiang Shu, could not calm down for a long time after receiving the information about Li Zongjiu. They did not expect Li Zongjiu to be so capable. Most importantly, they didn't find anyone helping him from behind the scenes in their intelligence reports. Li Zongjiu killed his way into the Shi family alone. Before the outside world could even react to what had happened, Li Zongjiu had already killed everyone in the family. Not only was Lu Wenshan taken away, I also heard that the Tiger King protector of the Qingyuan villa also died in the Shi family's hands. Xiang Shu said. Previously, Yi family had been paying attention to the movements of the four big families. It could even be said that they had been paying attention to it all along. Therefore, they knew a little about the cooperation between the Shi family and Qingyuan manor. However, they did not know that the one who had been secretly manipulating the Shi family was actually the Tiger King guardian. Recently, Qingyuan manor could be said to have suffered quite a lot of losses. 2 of the 8 great guardians died directly. Last time, the blood bat guardian, Hu Tianshao, was also killed by a mysterious person. It was said that he was fighting for the mysterious stone tablet of the Compassionate Travel sect. Most likely, he was also killed by the people of the Compassionate Travel sect. This time, the Tiger King guardian who was hiding in the Shi family was also found out. Until now, he still could not escape death. A mere guardian, so what? Today, I will take down this kid. Things will change if we delay. Fang Liuxin's eyes flashed with a cold light as he said. Fang Liuxin was determined to get the thing in Li Zongjiu's hands. Most importantly, Spirit Valley sect suffered such a heavy loss this time. They would definitely gather people to make a comeback. When the second wave of people rushed out, it would not be so easy to deal with them. At that time, Spirit Valley sect would be powerful. It would not be easy to snatch it from them. After all, Valley Immortal sect had not reached that level yet. Moreover, the Spirit Valley sect was not the only sect that was fighting with her Valley Immortal sect in the city. It was said that the people from the Longevity Pavilion had arrived in the city. However, they hadn't received any news from them. This meant that the people from the Longevity Pavilion had hidden their movements. There must be someone helping them in the shadows. In other words, he had found an ally in the Longevity Pavilion. The many changes made Fang Liuxin of Spirit Valley sect feel deeply uneasy. He must get rid of Li Zongjiu as soon as possible. After getting the item, he would immediately flee. At that time, even if these people wanted to make a move, they would have to consider the consequences of the Valley Immortal sect's anger. Snatching things from Li Zongjiu's hands was completely different from snatching things from Fang Liuxin. In order to avoid any unexpected events, they had to kill Li Zongjiu in the middle of the night. That's right. This brat has too many strange tricks up his sleeves. If we continue to wait for something to happen to him, he will escape sooner or later. Let's take action tonight. Naturally, Xiang Shu wasn't a simple character. If he was soft-hearted, he wouldn't have reached this stage today. Therefore, Xiang Shu made a prompt decision and directly made up his mind. With the Yi family's Dark Knight army and the Valley Immortal sect's team, how could they not be able to break into this small white deer manor? Therefore, both Xiang Shu and Fang Liuxin were quite confident in their abilities. After all, they didn't put Li Zongjiu in their eyes. Yinghu returned to the white deer manor. Because the weight of these stones was too heavy, he didn't have a space ring big enough to store them. Therefore, he found a few carriages to pull the stones back one by one. This type of horse that was used to pull goods was not an ordinary horse. After several rounds of training, it had already developed an extremely strong endurance attribute. The weight that it could pull was 10 times or even 100 times that of an ordinary horse. Young master, the stones are here. Just to find these stones, Yinghu went to several stone merchants. In the end, because the stones were too heavy, he directly cut them on the spot. It took a lot of time to settle these things. However, the time was just right. Li Zongjiu also finished carving the Yuan inscription array on the 3 upper-grade primordial stones in his hand. All the Yuan inscription arrays were carved on the inside of the primordial stones. If one wasn't an expert, it would be difficult to see from the outside. When the Yuan inscription array was carved on the primordial stones, it presented a three-dimensional state. If one didn't have a guide, it was almost impossible to find the complete drawing method of the Yuan inscription array directly from the abandoned array stones. Place these stones in the 4 corners of the courtyard. Place them against the walls. Li Zongjiu said. Yinghu responded and did as he was told. Although he was extremely curious, Yinghu didn't ask from the beginning to the end. The Howling Moon Wolf King, who had nothing to do at the side, was also recruited to do the hard work. He was directly placed under the wall of the courtyard by the huge stones. Li Zongjiu's White Deer Manor only had the front courtyard and the courtyard. It wasn't considered too big. The front building was the main hall, while the left and right sides were the study and the wing rooms. The back building was the master bedroom, while the furthest side had a kitchen and a stable. When all the stones were in place, Yinghu also sat on the ground, feeling as though he was about to collapse. Although an Origin Ancestor Realm expert could destroy a huge stone with one punch, it didn't mean that he could lift a huge stone in one go. There was still a difference between the two concepts. Therefore, Yinghu, who hadn't exercised for a long time, was finally able to exercise his body thoroughly. Then, he saw Li Zongjiu walk to the front of the stone, pointing at it and drawing here and there. He didn't know what Li Zongjiu was doing. Yinghu suddenly thought in his heart, is this young master crazy? It should be because the pressure of life was too great, causing him to lose control of his emotions. Now that he was sitting on the ground and fiddling with it, it was obvious that he had lost his mind. Otherwise, why would he be talking to himself while facing a huge stone? Young master. What are you? What are you doing? As he was worried about Li Zongjiu's situation, Yinghu couldn't help but step forward and ask. Shoo, don't be noisy. I'm performing a ritual. Li Zongjiu said sternly. When Yinghu saw this scene, he made up his mind that this young master might be crazy. Soon, Li Zongjiu followed the rest of the stones and greeted them one by one. During this process, Yinghu also followed Li Zongjiu. Seeing that Li Zongjiu was so young, Yinghu felt very regretful in his heart. However, he had no choice but to follow Li Zongjiu. After making a full circle, Yi Zichen walked around. Li Zongjiu sat under the old pagoda tree in the middle of the courtyard, rubbing his palms. There was a trace of excitement and anticipation in his eyes. It's finally done. Now, let's wait for a good show. To Li Zongjiu, the Yuan rune array that he had personally arranged was like a child who had found a favorite toy. He was very excited. However, Yinghu, who was beside him, came up to him worriedly. Young master, when I was an assassin, I knew a few good pharmacists. They have done a lot of research on the brain my ass. Li Zongjiu kicked Yinghu away. I've been hungry for a day. Bring me whatever food you have at home. Yes, yes, yes. When I went to buy stones, I bought 2 white-cut chickens, 2 braised chickens, and 2 beggars' chickens. Do you lack chickens in your life? Chapter 604. Li Zongjiu, Shadow Fox, and the Howling Moon Wolf King started eating chicken and drinking wine in the courtyard. When they stopped, Li Zongjiu briefly read through the Infernal Prajna technique in his mind. Even a casual reading of such a terrifying technique would make one feel like they were being sucked into it. Li Zongjiu hurriedly read through it once before withdrawing. It seemed that cultivating this kind of cultivation method was an extremely dangerous thing in itself. If you were not careful, it was very likely that you would be sucked in and assimilate your strength. Li Zongjiu, who was more cautious, did not try to comprehend it forcefully. On the other hand, the white god Fu had gradually entered the 3rd level under Li Zongjiu's cultivation. The white god Fu seems to have reached a bottleneck in the cultivation of mind power. Li Zongjiu thought to himself. Although Li Zongjiu's recitation of the white god Fu had been slightly shortened, the amplification effect of the white god Fu had been gradually decreasing. After entering the Yuan monarch grade, it had been reduced to this state. This made Li Zongjiu a little puzzled. It seems like I have to go to some extreme environments to cultivate. Besides the white god Fu, the ancient golden tyrant body technique also required a strong external force to continue to break through. Although he had already reached the level of a Yuan monarch, his future opponents might not necessarily be at this level. Therefore, he had to be fully prepared. Young master, something doesn't seem right. Shadow Fox said in a low voice. Then, he looked at the surrounding walls. Although it looked empty, he had a bad feeling in his heart. As an assassin for many years, his intuition immediately told him that there was something going on outside. Woo! The Howling Moon Wolf King also raised his head abruptly, as if he was looking for any movement in the surroundings. The moon in the sky slowly peeked over. Then, a huge dark cloud appeared and covered the moon. The surrounding light dimmed instantly, as if they had entered a world of extreme darkness. Whoosh! Young master, be careful. Shadow Fox could clearly feel the fluctuations in the surroundings. He immediately wanted to pull Li Zongjiu to hide first. However, Li Zongjiu stopped him with a wave of his hand. Don't worry, sit down first. Li Zongjiu casually patted the Howling Moon Wolf King, who had already entered battle mode. The aura of the newcomer made the little Moon Wolf King very uneasy. It wanted to engage in battle and tear the enemy in front of it into pieces. However, Li Zongjiu's comforting words made the Howling Moon Wolf King quiet down. Several figures landed in front of the courtyard, just in time to see Li Zongjiu and the others. However, they did not approach. Li Zongjiu and the others were all jealous and dangerous people. They had to be careful. Dozens of figures jumped on the surrounding rooftops. It's the Yi family's Dark Knight army. Shadow Fox said nervously when he saw these figures and the aura they exuded. These Dark Knight army could be said to be the representatives of death. They were also the Yi family's imperial guards. They would not even listen to Emperor Xingyan's orders. They would only listen to the master of the Dark Knight army. Previously, it was Yilantian. After Yilantian died, the Dark Knight army would naturally listen to whoever obtained the Tiger Tally. The Yi family has a share too? Li Zongjiu was a little surprised. The Yi family's people were almost all dead, yet they still wanted to get involved in this mess. They were simply digging their own graves. Why didn't they consider their own strength? I'll stop them in a while. Young master, you retreat first. There are many of them. This is not good. The Dark Knight army was good at group attacks. If the Dark Knight Snake original spirit was released at the same time, it would be difficult for ordinary people to resist. It was extremely easy for them to be controlled by the other party. As the saying went, a wise man knew when to retreat. As long as they could temporarily avoid the danger, they would still have a chance to make a comeback in the future. Yinghu was already prepared to die. The other party's Dark Knight army had mobilized in large numbers. It was impossible for a lone Jianghu expert like Shadow Fox to resist. Even the Howling Moon Wolf King might not be able to gain an advantage from these people. However, it would not be difficult for him to escape with Li Zongjiu. With the Howling Moon Wolf King's speed, there were probably not many people in Monarch City who could stop him if he wanted to escape. After the black-clothed Dark Knight soldiers landed, another 5 white-clothed female swordsmen descended from the sky. Li Zongjiu, hand over the Universe 9 rotating needles and our Valley Immortal sect will spare your life. The leading woman's face was cold. She looked as if her husband had died many years ago. It was no wonder that she had such an expression all day long. It was very normal for her husband to die. Young master, it's too late. Just now, it was the Dark Knight Army. Now, these women in white appeared. Just from the momentum alone, Shadow Fox already felt a trace of pressure. The momentum of these women in white seemed to be a level higher. If they were to fight head-on, the Shadow Fox would be completely defeated by the 5 women in less than 5 rounds. Don't worry. Sit down first. I'll call you later. Then, Li Zongjio calmly took out a scroll from his chest. With a bang, he placed it on the stone table. It's here. If you want it, come and get it yourself. As he spoke, he leisurely drank his wine and ate his meat. Universe 9 rotating needles. The experts of the Valley Immortal sect looked at each other. Then, they also looked at the commander of the Dark Knight Army. Yes. The commander of the Dark Knight Army waved his iron hand. Immediately, the Dark Knight Army rushed towards Li Zongjio and Shadow Fox. Not only that, but the Howling Moon Wolf King was also included in the list of targets. Shadow Fox could no longer hold back. If he did not take action, he would be torn to pieces by these people in front of him. His heart was beating so fast that it was about to jump out of his body. At this moment, a Dark Knight Army soldier, who was about to slash Li Zongjio with his long saber, suddenly flew backward. It was as if there was a rope tied to his waist and hundreds of people pulled him back at the same time. Bang! The Dark Knight Army soldier, who was pulled out, was instantly smashed into a huge rock in the corner. Bang! The armor was torn apart. Because the person under the armor had been turned into a pile of meat paste. His original appearance could no longer be seen clearly. The only thing that could be seen clearly was the flesh and blood on the ground. Damn it! Shadow Fox opened his eyes wide. It wasn't just this one person. Everyone who made a move next was instantly sent flying by this tyrannical force. Pa! Pa! A series of sounds of meat paste being smashed sounded one after another. The scene in that instant was dazzling. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. These stones. What's going on? Shadow Fox saw that these people actually took the initiative to crash into the stones. Not only that, but the stones themselves were not damaged at all, as if they were a huge piece of black iron standing there. Just what kind of mechanism was there on these rocks? They actually possessed such great power. Shadow Fox could not help but rub his eyes. Could it be that he was mistaken? The commander of the Dark Knight Army and the 5 people of the Valley Immortal sect were all shocked. In just a moment, more than 10 people had been killed by the strange stones. More than 10 piles of meat paste were lying on the ground. Their armor was scattered all over the ground. It looked as if they had been dismembered by 5 horses and then trampled by 10,000 horses. Their deaths were extremely tragic. A ray of light flashed across the commander of the Dark Knight Army's eyes. He immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. They were men of sacrifice, but they were not fools. At the same time, they had brains and could think. This is an Yuan inscription array. Chapter 605. Inghu also reacted at this time. It turned out that Li Zongjio squatted in front of these big stones in the afternoon not because he was crazy, nor did he do anything wrong. Instead, he was studying this Yuan rune formation. This. What kind of formation is this? It's too fierce. Inghu widened his eyes in surprise and opened his mouth wide. Seeing the scene in front of him, he really couldn't believe it. Li Zongjio was also very curious about the situation around him. He nodded in his heart. It seems that this Yuan rune formation is very good. The effect was similar to what he had imagined. Those people of the Night Army did not expect that they would be in this Yuan rune formation. If they acted rashly, they would probably lose their lives. The magic of these Yuan rune formations. They were used to taking away people's lives invisibly. In fact, some Yuan rune formations did not have such a terrifying magical effect. After all, this was not an illusory world. Every move and every formation pattern was an extremely powerful killing move. What's going on? Fang Liuxin, who was watching the situation from afar, was also shocked. The situation just now had caught him off guard. Before he could react, such a scene had happened. He didn't even see what kind of power it was. However, Fang Liuxin quickly came to his senses. This must be the power of the Yuan rune formation. Yuan rune formation. Li Zongjiu must have the help of an Yuan rune master behind him. Xiang Shu naturally saw the tragic death of the Night Army. They didn't even have the strength to fight back and were directly killed. This made Xiang Shu very angry. Originally, killing Li Zongjiu was already a matter of course. Unexpectedly, such a situation had happened. But so what if it's a Yuan rune formation? Could it be that my people of the Valley Immortal sect will be stumped by your mere Yuan rune formation? Fang Liuxin himself still had a lot of confidence in his own subordinates. In the White Deer Manor, seeing such a scene, the 5 people of the Valley Immortal sect immediately lined up in a set of formation. Pay attention to the surroundings. Force your way in. Protect your origin spirit. The 5 of them immediately released a powerful origin spirit energy. Immediately, 5 Yuan spirits appeared beside the 5 of them, guarding their surroundings. As the Yuan power spread out, one could clearly see the terrifying energy gradually emerging in the White Deer Manor. The air seemed to be filled with the smell of blood and gunpowder. Concentrate your strength and attack the rock in the southwest corner. The commander of the Dark Knight Army roared in a low voice. Immediately, the remaining 50 Dark Knight Army soldiers gathered together and charged towards the rock in the corner. Boom! A terrifying force erupted in an instant. Like a furious roaring dragon, this roar seemed to cause the vast land to tremble. The power of dozens of Dark Knight soldiers twisted into a rope and slammed into the rock in the corner. Bang! This force slammed into the stone, but the stone itself was not damaged at all. On its surface, there seemed to be a cluster of bright light that flashed rapidly in front of his eyes. Not good. All the energy was instantly reflected back. Bang bang bang. It was like a sickle used to harvest leeks. In an instant, the dozens of Dark Knight soldiers were cut in half. Puff. 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 Many of them stood on the spot with their feet still on the ground, but their upper bodies were already sent flying. Blood spurted out from their waists and splattered on the ground. Such a scene was extremely spectacular and shocking. The only one who survived was the commander of the Dark Knight Army. However, he was also sent flying by the force and fell to the ground. Coincidentally, he fell not far away from Li Zongjiu and Yi Shiwen, witnessing the scene. He saw dozens of his brothers being cut in half at the waist. Such a scene was truly shocking. It was truly too frightening. Blurg. Even the Shadow Fox could not bear such a bloody scene. With so much blood and internal organs, how troublesome would it be to clean them up? However, a miraculous scene appeared once again. The blood and internal organs on the ground seemed to be gradually fusing into the ground. The entire White Deer Manor itself had become an enormous refining formation. And the final destination of this array's energy was Li Zongjiu's body. Boom! The powerful energy replenished Li Zongjiu's blood spirit world. This thing was like smoking a kind of herb. It was very addictive. For ordinary people, it was very harmful to their health. However, for a 1,000-year-old monster like Li Zongjiu, he had long understood how to better control these powers and extract the essence from them. A large number of people died in an orderly manner. These Dark Knight soldiers did not even cause Li Zongjiu or the White Deer Manor the slightest bit of damage. The commander of the Dark Knight Army could not believe what had happened. You devil, the commander of the Dark Knight Army pointed at Li Zongjiu and said in a trembling voice. At this moment, he was also seriously injured. There was no hope for him to survive. The Howling Moon Wolf King leaped forward and dug out the head of the Dark Knight Army commander with a swipe of its paw. Then, it chomped down on the head like it was a peanut. After all, it was a meta beast. In their eyes, there was nothing that they could not eat. Such a strange mansion. Burn it down. There were only 5 people from the Valley Immortal sect left. Immediately, the 5 of them formed a large array and concentrated all their energy on the leader. This person's primordial spirit was a fiery bird the size of a palm. When the 4 people injected their primordial spirit, it immediately spat out a burst of flame from its mouth and rushed toward Li Zongjiu and Howling Moon Wolf. Playing with fire in front of me? Li Zongjiu sneered in his heart. The Yuan pattern array was activated instantly. The energy of the flame was directly absorbed by the Yuan pattern array. Suddenly, a huge black rock fell from the sky. Bang! It directly smashed the leader into a pile of meat paste. When they saw the black rock fall, Li Zongjiu patted his head. Damn, no wonder I felt that there was a problem from the beginning. It turns out that I remembered wrongly. This is not the 1,000-horse dismemberment array. This is the fucking Being's Destruction Array. The Being's Destruction Array. There were all kinds of strange things. There were thousands of ways to die in the world. They could all be tasted in this array. Chapter 606. For example, the middle-aged woman in front of him was crushed to death by the meteorite that fell from the sky. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be such a situation in the 1,000-horse dismemberment array. But now it appeared, so Li Zongjiu suddenly remembered. Of course, the meteorite in front of him didn't really exist, but was an illusion condensed by the power of the array. No wonder it consumed so much of my mental strength. If it's the Being's Destruction Array, then it's at least a 5th-level Yuan rune array. Li Zongjiu suddenly realized. It was normal for things like this to be messed up. After all, Li Zongjiu had so many years of memories, it was impossible for him to organize everything neatly and tidily. He could recall whatever information he wanted. It was already very good to be able to remember this Yuan rune array. No wonder it consumed so much mental strength when carving the upper-grade Yuan rune stone. Li Zongjiu once thought that he didn't have the talent to carve the Yuan rune array. The remaining 4 people couldn't help but panic. They didn't expect their 3rd Ridge Master to be killed like this. These people couldn't help but panic. There weren't many people in the Valley Immortal sect to begin with. The Valley Immortal sect was divided into 3 halls. Aside from the sect master, the hall masters had the highest authority. Every hall master had people from 2 ridges under them. For example, the 5 people in front of them were Cui Zhu Ridge's people under Fang Liuxin. The Emerald Bamboo Ridge had a total of 3 Ridge Lords, and they were ranked according to their strength. The one who was killed just now was the 3rd Ridge Lord, and the rest of the Ridge Lords had not arrived yet. The people behind them were still gathering their strength, so they needed some time to arrive. Not good, let's retreat first. Since the 3rd Ridge Master was dead, they had lost their backbone. In addition, the Yuan rune array in front of them was terrifyingly powerful. Naturally, they had to leave now. Otherwise, they would be killed if they stayed here. Wouldn't that be bad luck? They didn't even know how they died. The 3rd Ridge Master was old, but these disciples were still young. They still had a bright future ahead of them. They couldn't die here like this. That would be too much of a loss. Therefore, all of them wanted to escape. At their age, they had never seen an entire row of people being cut in half at the waist, at such a close distance. Even the blood splattered all over his face. He could even clearly see the intestines that had slid out. They were constantly shrinking and emitting hot air. No one would be able to stand such a horrifying scene. Before they came here, they didn't say that they would be stimulated by such a scene. It was really too hard for them to accept. They wanted nothing more than to run away from here. However, if these people wanted to escape, it seemed a little too late now. This was because once the formation was activated, if these people could not break it, they would not be able to leave this place alive. So. Boom! One of the female disciples flew up, wanting to fly out directly, but a cold light swept past her, and her 2 legs flew out like 2 scattered chopsticks. Swoosh! Ah! Senior sister, save me! After landing on the ground, she felt as if her whole body was stuck in the ground. The pain of losing her thigh was a huge blow to this disciple. As a girl, her legs were directly cut off. What was there to live for? Seeing his junior sister in such a miserable state, the other person also rushed out in a panic, wanting to save his junior sister. However, just as this person stopped in front of her junior sister, in the next second, a wave of saber energy attacked her from behind, instantly cutting her in half. She turned into a pile of blood. With a splash, the internal organs scattered all over the female disciple who had her legs cut off. The sudden surge of hot blood, coupled with the beating internal organs, caused the female disciple to scream. Her head was chopped off. But in the next second, his head was sent flying. It was sent flying by a giant axe. While flying, one could clearly see that his eyeballs were still moving. It was almost unbelievable. Ing Hu, who was standing at the side, was also stunned by the scene in front of him. What kind of mentality did he have to set up such a Yuan rune array in his own home? Blood, flesh, and internal organs were scattered everywhere. Could it be that in front of this Li Zongjiu, there was no such thing as having tender feelings for the fairer sex? Did he even know what a woman was? He was really just a little brat. Damn it, this Li Zongjiu, he actually chopped up my disciples like cabbages. How could Fang Liuxin bear it when he saw that his men were all dead? However, just as Fang Liuxin was about to make a move, Madame Xiang, who was at the side, firmly stopped Fang Liuxin. Don't be impulsive. This Yuan rune array is very powerful, killing people like flies. However, it doesn't have the slightest murderous aura. It must have been done by an extremely strong expert. Since he has already made preparations, if we rashly attack, we will definitely die. Now, there were only a few ordinary Dark Knight soldiers left beside Xiang Shu. They were all her personal bodyguards, protecting her. Who would have thought that those who rushed in would all end up with a tragic death? It was really heart-wrenching. But what could they do? The Dark Knight soldiers that the Yi family had painstakingly cultivated were simply worthless in front of Li Zongjiu. He could kill them if he wanted to. They were not a threat at all. When the furious Fang Liuxin heard Xiang Shu's words, he paused for a moment. Indeed, what Xiang Shu said was not without reason. If they rashly barged in, they would definitely fall into a trap. Alright, if that kid dares to take a step out of this courtyard, I will definitely turn him into a pile of minced meat. Fang Liuxin said coldly. At this moment, Xiang Shu cried out in alarm. That guy is coming towards us. Xiang Shu did not hear what Fang Liuxin said. Instead, she was horrified to see Li Zongjiu's figure leaping from the White Deer Manor and heading towards the tall building where they were. His speed was extremely fast. Protect madam. The 4 female Dark Knight soldiers immediately stepped forward and shielded Xiang Shu behind them. Li Zongjiu's figure instantly landed in front of them. Facing the 4 people who were attacking him, he casually waved his hand and a terrifying mental energy reaped their lives. The obsidian flame instantly burned their corpses clean. Fang Liuxin never thought that Li Zongjiu would actually dare to leave the White Deer Manor. You women only know how to blindly meddle. What Valley Immortal sect are you from? Li Zongjiu asked, but his gaze naturally looked towards Fang Liuxin's direction. You go first, I will block him. Xiang Shu directly pushed Fang Liuxin away. At the same time, a few short arrows that were filled with the sound of thunder suddenly shot out from her sleeves. Swoosh! A long sound burst out and swept towards Li Zongjiu in an instant. Thunder sound short arrow. Unfortunately, when the thunder sound short arrow rushed towards Li Zongjiu, it was blocked by an invisible force. This was Li Zongjiu's mental energy. Under such circumstances, he had to defend himself. Therefore, although the thunder sound short arrow was a good surprise attack, it was ineffective against Li Zongjiu. You go first. I will deal with this kid. Valley Immortal Art. Immortal Elemental Energy Burning Spirit Palm. Fang Liuxin was not to be outdone. He directly raised his hand and a terrifying power condensed in his palm and fell towards Li Zongjiu. At such a close distance, one could feel the blazing power burning. Immortal Art. Chapter 607. When Li Zongjiu felt the terrifying power released from Fang Liuxin's body, a trace of shock and doubt appeared in his eyes. The so-called power of the celestial art was, in fact, an extremely powerful elemental art. It could be said to be an extremely special existence among the elemental arts. It was not something that ordinary people could come into contact with. On this continent, other than elemental qi, there were many other powers that existed. There were even powers that surpassed elemental qi and were stronger than elemental qi. For example, there were flames that existed. These powers were extremely strong, and if humans wanted to refine and use these powers, they would need an even more powerful elemental art. The celestial art was one of them. A grade 7 elemental art was already the peak of the elemental qi realm. If one wanted to go further, only those who cultivated the celestial art could become an expert. Li Zongjiu in his previous life was an exception. The Heavenly Void Divine record that Li Zongjiu cultivated was only a grade 7 elemental art. However, the specialty of this elemental art was that it could accommodate elemental arts of other attributes. In addition to his own talent, this was why Li Zongjiu was able to become the strongest person in the same realm. It was because of the existence of the Heavenly Void Divine record. As for the celestial art, Li Zongjiu had not seen many of them in his previous life. He even disdained them because these celestial arts came from inheritances. Therefore, when he felt the powerful aura from Fang Liuxin's body, he was slightly shocked. Li Zongjiu also raised his hand, gathered his strength, and struck out with his palm. Boom! In the instant of contact, Fang Liuxin was directly sent flying by Li Zongjiu. With a bang, Fang Liuxin's body flew backwards, directly flying out from the roof. He tumbled a few times before coming to a stop with a plop. Looking at Fang Liuxin's actions, Li Zongjiu withdrew his palm. This thing that can't even be considered a grade 7 elemental art dares to be called a celestial art? Li Zongjiu, who was standing with his hands behind his back, had a very disdainful look on his face. These people really dared to say anything. They had the nerve to show off with this level of skill. Xiang Shu watched with her own eyes as an expert like Fang Liuxin was sent flying with a single palm strike. He knew that this Li Zongjiu was not simple. No matter what, he had to fight with this Li Zongjiu. It would be best if they could perish together. Immediately, Xiang Shu also let out a low roar. A flexible sword appeared in his hand. Like a spirit snake, he directly swept it towards Li Zongjiu. Li Zongjiu easily reached out and caught the sword. With a light flick of his finger, he broke the soft sword in his hand. Clang! With a flip of his hand, Li Zongjiu swung the broken sword at Xiang Shu's neck. Puff! No matter how many protective talismans he had, it was useless. Xiang Shu's neck was instantly pierced by the sharp blade. The body helplessly fell down from the roof. Li Zongjiu did not care about the identity of the people in front of him. In the eyes of others, Xiang Shu's death was a very shocking thing. After all, he was the real ruler of the Yi clan. To be able to have such power was not simple. Even now, Xiang Shu's status in the city was not low. The power he had accumulated was not weak. Today, Xiang Shu was dead. In addition, the Yi clan's Dark Knight army was also killed here. Now, the Yi clan could be considered to have reached the end of its lifespan. There was no chance for them to make a comeback. Even if they were not swallowed by other forces, they would automatically be reduced to a third-rate clan, or even a clan that did not enter the rankings. Li Zhongzhou's figure leaped over Xiang Shu's body. He did not even know Xiang Shu's name. However, the move that Fang Liuxin used just now was more powerful. He must be an important figure in the Valley Immortal sect. His figure landed on the ground with a swoosh. Fang Liuxin had recovered at this moment. When he sensed Li Zhongzhou's approach, he directly took out a black bead from the storage ring. The bead contained the power of chaos. It was called the Chaos Bead. Die! Fang Liuxin's face was ferocious. At this moment, he did not hold back. The Chaos Bead directly smashed towards Li Zhongzhou. Li Zhongzhou's mind moved and directly froze the Chaos Bead. You really don't know what death is. Immediately, Li Zhongzhou coldly snorted and directly threw the Chaos Bead back at Fang Liuxin. Pfft! The power of chaos in the Chaos Bead instantly fell on Fang Liuxin's body. The gas was like some terrifying venom that sprinkled down and sprinkled all over Fang Liuxin's body. No! Fang Liuxin's eyes suddenly widened. He could not believe that he would be hit by the Chaos Bead. It was too late for him to escape. Fang Liuxin only felt a terrifying force invading his head. After invading, it also forcibly occupied his head. This made Fang Liuxin seem to be immersed in this endless chaos. As his feet moved, he felt as if he was about to fall to his death. He covered his head with both hands and crazily slammed into the surrounding walls. The surrounding walls were also directly knocked down. When Li Zhongzhou saw this scene, he could not help but keep a certain distance from Fang Liuxin. The powerful Yuan power that was constantly released from the latter's body was like a turbulent flow that constantly attacked and reverberated. This made Li Zhongzhou very surprised. The power of chaos is so effective. It actually turned an Yuan monarch powerhouse into a lunatic in an instant. Li Zhongzhou was obviously very surprised. Li Zhongzhou had seen the power of chaos before. The power of chaos was produced in some places where space was chaotic. In order to obtain the power of chaos, at least an Yuan monarch powerhouse was required. Even a Yuan monarch powerhouse had the possibility of being sucked away. It was quite dangerous. This trace of power of chaos was sealed into the Chaos Bead. In the face of some tricky situations, the Chaos Bead was also very effective in breaking out of an encirclement. It was also considered a kind of Yuan artifact. However, only Yuan monarchs could refine it. Who knew that Li Zhongzhou would actually easily deflect the power of chaos? He could only watch helplessly as the Yuan monarch martialist fell into a deranged state. Like a madman, he ran towards the outside. Forget it. She went crazy so easily. Seems like this woman's willpower isn't very strong. Li Zhongzhou had originally wanted to capture another hostage in exchange for a reward. However, since this woman had gone crazy, he might as well just let her wander around. If he brought this woman back, there would probably be a lot of trouble. It would be troublesome if he had to keep an eye on this person. This Yuan inscription array seems to be lacking something. I have to go back and improve it. Li Zhongzhou recalled the effects of his Yuan pattern array. In his heart, he was also pondering how he should make some improvements. After all, this was the first Yuan pattern array that he had set up in this mansion. It had to be rather domineering. The array disk of the Yuan inscription array was under the big pagoda tree. When the Yuan inscription array was activated, the area under the big pagoda tree would be the only safe place. Li Zhongzhou returned to his white deer manor in a flash. The corpses outside had no effect on Li Zhongzhou. The special envoy would discover these corpses very soon. However, Sima Shengyan had received news recently. Therefore, even the Special Envoy Department's activities had been reduced recently. As for the damage caused by these underworld experts, it was naturally investigated by other departments of the Imperial Court. Being at the Origin Ancestor realm was still very effective in dealing with local tyrants. However, if one wanted to deal with the top forces of the underworld, one would have to wait. Li Zhongjiu actually knows about Yuan inscription arrays. Beside Murong Zhantian, the old man from the previous time was also extremely shocked as he spoke. Chapter 608. Similarly, there were many pairs of eyes watching tonight's battle. Li Zhongjiu naturally knew that these people were watching him. As long as he could stall for time for a few days, everything would be fine once the item was delivered to Nanxing's hands. If these people wanted to see him kill people, he would at least let them see. However, if these people wanted him to intervene, they would have to be prepared to hand over their lives. In Li Zhongjiu's opinion, this kind of spying was like a few ants plotting when to deal with an elephant. Did you think that the elephant would care about what these ants were thinking? After all, this level was different. The old man beside Murong Zhantian was also an Yuan inscription master. Similarly, he had dabbled in Yuan inscription arrays. Therefore, when he saw Li Zhongjiu use the Yuan inscription array to kill so many people from the Dark Knight army in an instant, the shock he felt was indescribable. He had a good understanding of the strength of the Dark Knight army. They were definitely not ordinary people. However, under the Yuan inscription array set up by Li Zhongjiu, they did not have the slightest ability to retaliate. In fact, they did not even have the time to react before they were all killed. Given the strength of the Dark Knight army, they should not be unfamiliar with Yuan inscription arrays. They should not have lost their lives in vain. Can you tell what kind of array this is? It is extremely ferocious. The Yuan inscription array set up by Li Zhongjiu was not simple when it was used to kill people. It wasn't that simple, and the scene was extremely bloody. Although some of the Yuan inscription array grounds were extremely dangerous, Li Zhongjiu's method seemed to have been born for this kind of fancy killing. I have not really come into contact with it. Just based on the current effect, I am not sure. The old man said in a deep voice. When he saw it, he had already started to recall where this array came from. He had seen it in a book before. After all, there were too many strange Yuan inscription arrays. Just like this pill, there were many pills that could be concocted from some messy formulas. Some of them were even quite powerful. This was the difference between the two. Although I can't tell what kind of array this is, based on tonight's performance, it's at least a 4th level array. 4th level origin pattern array. Didn't that mean that Li Zhongjiu was also a level 4 origin inscription master? 5th grade alchemist. 4th level origin inscription master. His Yuan force cultivation had also reached the Yuan King realm. Looking at the strength of his physical body, he should have already reached the level of Yuan Zone. Li Zhongjiu was an all-rounder genius in almost every aspect. He was so young, yet he had already achieved such terrifying achievements in every aspect. It was truly astonishing and deeply shocking. He didn't even dare to believe that Li Zhongjiu was hiding some other skills, some real trump card. If that was the case, then this Li Zhongjiu was simply too terrifying. Where did this kind of person come from? Although Murong Wang wanted to see the universe 9 revolving needles, he had not reached the point of madness. Originally, he wanted to get his hands on this thing and observe it for a few days. Then, he would sell it to one of the major forces and gain some benefits from it. More importantly, Murong Wang wanted to get his hands on it. He could do them a favor. For Murong Wang, this was a win-win situation. However, he didn't expect Li Zhongjiu to be so difficult to deal with. He wasn't as simple as he had imagined. Wait a minute, given Li Zhongjiu's strength, his background must not be so simple. Furthermore, with the appearance of the universe 9 revolving needle, he doesn't have to be so brazen and kill so many people. Either the force behind him isn't afraid of the Valley Immortal sect and the Spirit Valley sect, or the item in his hand is in the process of being transferred and Li Zongjiu is just here to delay it. Murong Zhantian's eyes suddenly lit up. Recently, Li Zongjiu's style of doing things didn't have the slightest bit of concealment. It was as if he was saying, "The item is with me, come and get it if you have the ability." If he did that, then it would be a little too much. Therefore, Murong Zhantian guessed in his heart that there must be a reason behind it. If that's the case, it's not without reason. Such a sought-after item, if they don't let it go, things will definitely get worse and worse. Moreover, this 9 revolving cosmos needle's secret manual may not be that valuable. The old man beside Murong Wang added. His words did not seem to be without reason. Li Zongjiu didn't have to be so arrogant. His arrogance seemed to be a little too insolent. Yushi, the Universe 9 revolving needle is no longer with Li Zongjiu. Thinking of this, the two of them were obviously surprised. When this Li Zongjiu did things, it really made people scratch their heads. I really don't know what this guy is trying to do. The Longevity Pavilion is already in the city. They haven't made a move yet. With the Spirit Valley sect and Valley Immortal sect as their pawns, I don't think they will make a move easily. Murong Zhantian said. These people thought that they had caught a soft persimmon, but who knew that Li Zongjiu was a big hedgehog with thorns all over his body. Even if they could bite Li Zongjiu, their mouths would be full of holes. Why bother? If they were to compete in ruthlessness, Li Zongjiu hadn't lost yet. Your Highness, is there another possibility? The old man suddenly said. Murong Zhantian turned around and looked at him. What? Clearly, there was a glint in the old man's eyes. This was an extremely bold idea. Li Zongjiu, from the beginning to the end, did not put these people, in his eyes, the old man said slowly. The reason why he dared to kill people in such an unscrupulous manner was that he didn't reject anyone who dared to attack him, and each of them would be beheaded. It was because Li Zongjiu himself didn't put these people in his eyes. A person with such terrifying talent, what was there to be afraid of? Sooner or later, he would trample all these people under his feet. Even in the current situation, Li Zongjiu himself was a powerful existence. However, based on what they saw before, Li Zongjiu was judged as a child. Therefore, Li Zongjiu was looked down upon everywhere. But in fact, Li Zongjiu alone was enough to resist thousands of soldiers and horses. Impossible. Murong Zhantian said in a deep voice. Someone who came from a clan in a third-class city has no background. There must be some unspeakable secret behind him. Which of these forces hasn't accumulated for thousands of years? They haven't shown their true strength yet. Murong Zhantian shook his head deeply. The reason why these powerful forces existed was that the dynasty did not restrict them. Most of the time, they just turned a blind eye. Otherwise, how could they allow these people to act so arrogantly in Monarch City? They would definitely drive all these people out. Wantonly robbing in Monarch City was tantamount to a provocation to the royal authority. After all, Monarch City had its own rules. But until now, there had been no movement. This explained the reason. Li Zongjiu's actions are no different from playing with fire. Just wait, this kid won't live for long. Chapter 609. Li Zongjiu took the time to go to Boyu Casino. This night's slaughter did not cause any ripples in Li Zongjiu's heart. Even his clothes were not stained with the slightest bit of blood. His hands were clean. Some of the Yi family's businesses can be taken over. Li Zongjiu called Taifai over and said. Taifai was also stunned. Such a big piece of news was given all of a sudden. The speed of their expansion was really too fast. But fortunately, Taifai was still able to take care of it. I'll arrange it immediately. Taifai said. In a situation like theirs, they must have a strong momentum in the short term. Otherwise, it would be easy for others to seize the limelight and then directly suppress them. Therefore, to the extent that they could achieve in a short period of time, they would use this method to expand and annex. They would seize all the business that they had never been in contact with before and some of the customer resources. However, the Yi family only controlled some territories below. They did not have any main business. Therefore, in such a situation, it was more convenient to directly take over. Have you found any new movements in the southern borders poison cult recently? Li Zongjiu was still worried about the southern borders poison cult. These guys were like rats and cockroaches. They were good at disguising and hiding. Sometimes, they even hid very deep. If you did not look carefully, you would not be able to find them at all. Now that these people from the southern borders poison cult were in the city, it was the best time to get rid of them. Once they left the sacred flame royal city, these people would be able to take everything out no matter where they went, as if they were ovulating and laying eggs. No, but recently, there have been some people in the city who have contracted a strange disease. Even the Heavenly Dawn Medicine Manor sent people out to check on them, but there were no results. Now, many people in the slums have this strange disease. Strange disease? That's right. All of a sudden, he couldn't speak anymore. Moreover, his body gradually became thinner. In less than 2 days, he became so thin that he was just skin and bones. Taifai said. Lost voice worm. Li Zongjiu's eyes lit up. Without a doubt, this was definitely the doing of the Southern Territories poison sect. Only these guys could come up with such disgusting and strange things. Where did it start? Li Zongjiu asked. It should be the Sanwu district, south of the city. Oh, right, it happens to be under Wang Ding's jurisdiction. Taifai said. South of the city, Sanwu district. As a slum area in the south of the city, it was a place where homeless people gathered. Occasionally, someone would throw some steamed buns here. Beggars were everywhere. As for the legendary beggar clan, it didn't exist at all. If they couldn't even fill their stomachs, who would have the leisure to fight for territory? No matter how many beggars there were, they couldn't possibly defend against those elemental force experts. Therefore, other than trash, there was nothing else here. However, the city guards were the army of the imperial court. Even if these homeless people and beggars were the commoners of the dynasty, they were still obliged to take care of their lives. In just 2 days, the number of sick beggars had already exceeded hundreds. Moreover, the aphasia was spreading faster and faster. Wang Ding had no choice but to lead his men to isolate the sick people. Some of them were even in critical condition. When he saw the situation of these people, Wang Ding felt extremely uncomfortable. At the same time, there must be a reason for such a serious situation. Such a situation wouldn't happen for no reason. Therefore, Wang Ding was also worried about what kind of strange disease it was. The higher-ups had already sent people to deal with it. It was said that such a situation had occurred not only in his district, but in other places as well. Some of the more serious cases had already shown signs of death. When they died, they directly became a pile of skin and bones lying on the ground, as if there wasn't even a drop of blood to be found. Sir, it's not good. 3 more died just now. In addition, several more cases have appeared in the safety zone. Liu Pei came to Wang Ding and reported with an extremely solemn expression. If one appeared, there would be a few more. Soon, it would spread at a very fast speed. Therefore, it must be strictly controlled. Send people to capture them all. In addition, completely seal off the Sanwu district. No one is to be let out. Wang Ding made a prompt decision. Even if a disaster occurred, it could only be controlled within the Sanwu district. This strange disease must not be allowed to spread outside. If it spread, the situation would become even more uncontrollable. Divide the Sanwu district into 3 areas, the safety zone, the observation zone, and the danger zone. Wang Ding said. His meaning was very clear. Only when it was proven that there was no such disease could they stay in the safe zone. If there was even the slightest sign of it, they had to stay in the observation area. If they were in the danger zone, they could only be guarded by those who were already seriously ill. Yes, sir. Liu Pei immediately carried out the military order. As a loyal soldier, he did not hesitate to carry out the order. Among the 7 battalions, the problem here is the most serious. The other 2 battalions also have problems. Someone must be behind this. If this continues, then the same symptoms may appear in my camp. Wang Ding had already guessed the goal of these people. It was very likely that they used this method to directly destroy his camp. After all, if one stayed in contact with these people for a long time, they might also be infected. This was an open conspiracy. Wang Ding didn't know who was manipulating him in the dark. However, the current situation required someone to deal with it. If this disease spread to other places, it would also be Wang Ding's fault and he would not be able to escape death. Just as Wang Ding was at a loss of what to do, someone reported that a man named Li Zhongjiu had arrived outside the tent. "I'm not seeing anyone. Can't you see that I'm busy now?" Wang Ding said directly. However, after saying this, he instantly realized something. "Wait a minute, stop. Who did you say was looking for me?" Wang Ding suddenly woke up. He did not wait for the messenger to answer and hurriedly ran out. He happened to see Li Zhongjiu being blocked by the soldiers of the camp. Fortunately, Li Zhongjiu was respectful and did not directly kill the people in front of him. "Get out of my way, you blind things. How dare you block anyone?" Wang Ding slapped the people in front of him and sent them flying. When he saw Li Zhongjiu, his face was filled with excitement. "Young master, you're here." Chapter 6:10. At this moment, although Wang Ding was troubled, he was still very respectful towards this mysterious young master. The benefits he had gained from Li Zhongjiu were almost uncountable. Those 1,500 pills were enough to change the fate of this cauldron. What's more, the Tusk Battalion's fate was directly changed, which made Wang Ding even more touched. Therefore, Wang Ding's heart was filled with admiration and gratitude towards Li Zhongjiu. In addition, Li Zhongjiu directly beat up the 9th prince and severely extorted a large sum of money from him. Wang Ding worshipped such a demeanor and bearing that did not fear the royal authority. Not only did he teach the 9th prince a lesson, but he also did not have any reaction until now. This was the reason why Wang Ding was surprised. He had clearly offended the 9th prince, but in the end, he seemed to be fine. This was really surprising. Just the fact that he was able to survive until now was already deeply inconceivable. In addition to being excited, Wang Ding's face also became dignified. "Young master, you came at the wrong time. There is an inexplicable poison spreading around here. You can't go near it casually. The poison has already caused a great impact," Wang Ding said. The situation was very serious. If he did not take it seriously, the problem would be serious. "I came to help you solve this problem." Li Zhongjiu smiled faintly. He naturally knew what was going on here. Otherwise, he would not have come here. Hearing Li Zhongjiu's words, Wang Ding was stunned at first, but then his face revealed an ecstatic expression. "Yes, why didn't I think of it? Young master's alchemy skills are superb. You must have a way to solve this problem." Wang Ding suddenly slapped his head. Why didn't he think of it before? "But young master, we don't know where these things came from. We don't know how dangerous it is for the time being. It's better not to take the risk. The higher-ups have already sent people from the Imperial Medical Workshop to investigate the cause. I believe they will have some results soon." Wang Ding was still worried about Li Zhongjiu's safety. After all, this was not a joke. Imperial Physician Workshop? What is that? Li Zhongjiu said disdainfully. Wang Ding didn't have time to explain to Li Zongjiu, and then he saw Lu Pei, who had left before, hurriedly running back. My lord, something bad has happened. One of the imperial physicians has also been infected. Lu Pei said anxiously. He also felt that it was inconceivable for such a thing to happen. At the same time, his face was filled with deep shock. Hello, young master. Lu Pei did not forget to greet Li Zongjiu even though he was in a hurry. Lu Pei was one of Wang Ding's confidants, so Wang Ding also told him about his cooperation with Li Zongjiu. Therefore, Lu Pei also knew about Li Zongjiu's identity and status. At the same time, he also experienced Li Zongjiu's strength last time. Naturally, there was nothing to say. Even the imperial physician was infected. Let's go and take a look. The imperial physician, who was highly praised just a moment ago, was now directly infected in the blink of an eye. This immediately made everyone's jaws drop. Young master. You. Let's go and take a look. Li Zongjiu waved his hand. Wang Ding had no other choice. Since Li Zongjiu wanted to go, there was no reason to stop him. Then, he gathered a few of his subordinates and quickly walked towards a newly opened research institute. You must protect the young master. Wang Ding sent Lu Pei to protect Li Zongjiu. If Li Zongjiu encountered any threat in his territory, then Wang Ding would really be guilty. Even if he was poisoned, he must not let the young master be poisoned. Yes. My lord. Lu Pei and the others replied. The group of people arrived at a large shed that was heavily guarded by soldiers. Outside the shed, there were some fences that were as tall as a person blocking the way. This was to prevent any threats, but now, the threats were spreading out from the tents. A certain amount of protective measures had been taken. On the way here, the few of them also understood what had happened just now. They were suddenly attacked and they were carrying out research treatment on a person. Although they managed to kill the person in time, one of the imperial physicians lost the ability to speak on the spot. The surrounding people were also shocked. At the same time, they quickly isolated the person. However, because some of the previous research was slightly effective, it temporarily suppressed the terrifying spread of the poison in the body. Now, the people in the imperial physician workshop were frantically carrying out some research. Where is the imperial physician who was bitten? My lord, he is locked in a dark room and is being carefully observed. Bring us there. Wang Ding said. The surrounding soldiers were all equipped with heavy armor and swords. These heavy armors were also effective in resisting external attacks. At the very least, wearing them gave them a sense of security. Li Zongjiu and the others came in front of a house. The design of this house was like a prison. In this room, there was some specially designed steel fences. In fact, this was an iron cage. It was used to imprison the subject for observation. What are you doing here? Get out. As soon as Wang Ding and the others walked in, they heard an old man's dignified and angry voice. Dr. Jiang, this is Li Zongjiu from the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. He has the qualifications of an imperial alchemist. Wang Ding quickly said. These people who came from the imperial physician workshop were all people who directly treated the imperial family. Therefore, these people were all arrogant and had bad tempers. Especially now that such a thing had happened. If they did not handle it well, they would directly be humiliated. At such a critical time, they still knew how to find these amateurs to cause trouble. These self-righteous quack doctors and a grassroots team really thought that they could be on the stage. When Dr. Jiang heard this, his eyes widened. Wang Ding. Don't cause trouble for me here. You forgot to bring anyone inside. What's the use of an ungraduated student? Jiang Wuxia, who was the most senior and most qualified, scolded angrily again. If you want to be apprenticed, now is not the time. As he spoke, Jiang Wuxia also glanced at Li Zongjiu. In any case, he was also an imperial alchemist. In their line of work, they naturally knew how much weight the two words, imperial alchemist, represented. Such a person either had connections or strength. Therefore, it could be said that he took care of things. However, his temper was not very good. In terms of attitude, he was slightly more arrogant. Li Zhongzhou listened and did not think much of it. He even pretended that he did not hear it. There were a total of 3 old doctors in the room, reading the ancient books under the dim light. At the same time, there were bottles and jars on the table, with some weed ointment and the like placed on it. In the small room behind the fence, a person sat cross-legged. There was a slight trace of despair on his face. However, by now, he had probably written his will. Who knew that such a situation would occur? Such an unlucky thing happened to him. It was also an unavoidable thing. Wang Ding, open the door. Chapter 611. Open the door. The people who were busy all raised their heads and looked at Li Zhongzhou as if they were looking at an idiot. You brat, did you come here to cause trouble or to destroy the world? How dare you ask people to open the door? Don't go too far. Don't you know what's behind this door? What did you say? Jiang Wuxia heard Li Zhongzhou's words and was instantly enraged. He glared at Li Zhongzhou and wished he could slap Li Zhongzhou's head away. Young master. You. Are you alright? Wang Ding hesitated for a moment and asked again to make sure he didn't hear wrongly. If the door was opened, it would be extremely dangerous. If the poison gas spread out, wouldn't it spread to everyone present? Although he didn't know if the origin Qi experts could withstand this situation. However, these unknown factors were still dangerous. Didn't you hear me? Open it. Li Zhongzhou said indifferently. Wang Ding was shocked. Li Zhongzhou didn't come here to ask for your opinion, but to order you. If you can't even understand this, then you don't need to continue. Wang Ding realized that his question was superfluous and hurriedly asked people to open the iron gate. You, what are you doing? Do you want to die? Jiang Wuxia was shocked. Wang Ding, are you crazy? You're trying to kill all of us here. Jiang Wuxia roared in a low voice. Wang Ding was unmoved. Although the Imperial Medical Workshop was a big shot, they couldn't order him now. In any case, he was still a battalion commander of the city guards. Previously, he was just giving him a little face. The Imperial Medical Workshop nurtured imperial doctors. They were all talents who would enter the palace. They must have rich experience and knowledge. They must know a lot of things, 10 times or even 100 times more than ordinary pharmacists. Otherwise, it would be impossible for them to graduate from the Imperial Medical Workshop. After all, there were only a few who could enter the palace to take up a post. Jiang Wuxia was not an imperial physician who had entered the palace before. However, their experience and the like could not be underestimated. They were all extremely extraordinary people. Dr. Jiang, don't be impatient. Let's see what's going on first. Wang Ding said with a stern expression. The faint prestige that was emitted from his eyes was also reminding Jiang Wuxia that the person standing in front of him was an iron-blooded general who had killed his way in and out of the battlefield. He was not some dog skin plaster from other places. Alright, I would like to see how capable you people are. If the situation here becomes serious, you will be punished by the great emperor. Jiang Wuxia said coldly. Li Zhongzhou walked in. The person sitting cross-legged was also looking at Li Zhongzhou at this moment. Under the dim light, one could see a pair of lifeless eyes that were on the verge of despair. The situation this time was too dangerous. When Li Zhongzhou walked in, the person sitting there did not move. He just stared at Li Zhongzhou. Li Zhongzhou walked towards him. The person seemed to want to say something, but after opening his mouth, he remembered that he could no longer speak. He could only stare at Li Zhongzhou in front of him. Stick out your tongue. Li Zongjio said as he squatted in front of the person. Although his mouth was mute, his ears were still good. The person did not understand why Li Zongjio wanted to come in. He also heard Wang Ding's introduction and knew that Li Zongjio was only a student of Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. How capable could he be? However, he still wanted to give it a try and stuck out his tongue. Whoosh! The moment the tongue appeared, Li Zongjio waved his hand. The blade flashed, and then a stream of blood flew out and splattered on the ground. What are you doing? Jiang Wuxia and the others saw Li Zongjio's actions and immediately shouted. Could it be that Li Zongjio's purpose was to assassinate their people? The person was also in pain. A large part of his tongue was cut off. Just as he was about to retract his tongue, Li Zongjio grabbed him. Li Zongjio grabbed his chin. The tongue and teeth kept colliding. He wanted to retract his tongue, but Li Zongjio held him tightly. He could not move. Li Zongjio also grabbed a handful of mugwort and stuffed it directly on the tongue that was spurting blood. Immediately, the person's face turned purple. It was obvious that the process was very painful. Li Zongjio casually pushed the person away. The person fell to the ground and covered his mouth. He seemed to feel that something was crawling out of his mouth. Immediately, under the continuous pulling, he retched. At the same time, there was a stench. Blurg. Along with some stinky vomit falling to the ground, a milky white worm also landed on the ground with a plop. When they saw this thing, everyone was startled. What is this thing? They could not believe their eyes. Gao Liang, how are you? Jiang Wuxia hurriedly said. Gao Liang also touched his throat. I'm fine. Because a small part of his tongue was cut off, when he spoke, it sounded a little swollen. However, he was able to speak. When they heard Gao Liang's voice, everyone was shocked. You can speak. Jiang Wuxia and the others were shocked. They looked at Gao Liang, who was in front of them, and Li Zongjio, who was at the side. Li Zongjio patted the dust on his hands as if nothing had happened and then walked out. This is the aphasia worm. Their eggs will be released with the breath. If you accidentally breathe it in, you will be parasitized by these eggs. They will slowly grow in the place where your tongue is. Naturally, you will not be able to speak. In addition, they will constantly absorb your energy and blood. Li Zongjio said. Once the host dies, the aphasia bug will naturally die as well, Yi Zichen said. Your Excellency is. Jiang Wuxia and the others looked at Li Zongjio, dumbfounded. They could not believe their eyes. This difficult disease that had troubled them for many days was easily solved by Li Zongjio under such circumstances. It was really surprising and shocking. They were shocked by Li Zongjio's knowledge and rich experience. If that saber had gone a little deeper, he would have become a mute forever. Although the tongue was also where the arteries were, most people who committed suicide by biting their tongues did not die because the tongue was broken, but because the blood flowed into their throat, causing them to suffocate to death. The mugwort leaf can force them out. You'd better wear a mask because once these eggs enter your mouth, it will not be long before the disease breaks out. Li Zongjio walked out of the cage. The person called Gao Liang also walked out and looked at Li Zongjio in shock. At the same time, his eyes were full of gratitude. He was very excited to see Li Zongjio. If Li Zongjio did not appear, he probably would not have lived for more than a few days. Gao Liang, thank you for saving my life. Gao Liang knelt down and thanked Li Zongjio. Master, this old man was blind before. Please forgive me, young master. If you have time, please come to my Imperial Physician workshop. We will definitely treat you with great hospitality. Jiang Wuxia said with an apologetic smile. His face changed faster than flipping a book. Just a second ago, he was fiercely saying that he would teach Li Zongjio and Wang Ding a lesson, but in the next second, he directly invited them with great hospitality. Where did this happen first? Chapter 6:12. Wang Ding sent someone to bring a map over. The first example we found was in this area. However, we have already checked thoroughly and there are no other suspicious situations. Li Zongjiu glanced at the map. Bring me there. Although we have checked that area, it is very likely that there are other hidden dangers. Do not set foot there. Jiang Wuxi said. For such a place, they would definitely not dare to act recklessly. There might even be new types of toxins. These were all places and environments that were extremely dangerous. However, Li Zongjiu did not pay attention to these people. The two of them were not on the same level at all. There was nothing to talk about. Wang Ding and the rest did not say a word and directly led the way for Li Zongjiu. Thinking about it carefully, with Li Zongjiu's identity, his life must be more precious. Could it be that with Li Zongjiu's abilities, he would still want to throw his life away? Therefore, even the young master himself was not afraid. Could it be that they had to hide behind him? The group left the so-called research room directly. They were all people who had nothing to do. Although they were not capable, their tempers were extremely stubborn. Until now, they had not achieved anything. Instead, they had thrown their lives away. Seeing Li Zongjiu and the others walk away without looking back, Li Zongjiu and the others walked away. Jiang Wuxi and the others were so angry that they stomped their feet. He is simply arrogant. I have already given him a way out. How dare he not give me face? Jiang Wuxi was flustered and exasperated. He had already said that Li Zongjiu could come to his imperial medical workshop in the future. This meant that Jiang Wuxi had already acknowledged Li Zongjiu. However, who knew that Li Zongjiu would be so rude? Humph. This unappreciative thing. I will definitely not let him step into the imperial medical workshop in the future. That's right. How dare he not give face to Elder Jiang? Such a person can forget about staying in the medical circle of the Sacred Flame Royal City. Ignore him. Let's continue with our research. Jiang Wuxi said. At this moment, Gao Liang, who had already suppressed the injury on his tongue, was also a little surprised. It seemed that Li Zongjiu wasn't being polite, but Jiang Wuxi was also a little overboard. However, Gao Liang's status was ordinary, so he couldn't say much. However, he still needed to do some research. Didn't Li Zongjiu already give them the treatment method? They could just use the mugwort to solve the problem easily. Was there a need to research anything else? But, Elder Jiang, don't we already know how to solve this problem? Gao Liang could not help but exclaim. This was simply too outrageous. He had already given the method to you, so what are you all still thinking about? Shut up. You've only been in the Imperial Physician Workshop for a few days, yet you dare to point fingers at me? Are you tired of living? That Li Zongjiu's background is shady, and the method he gave us is also crooked. How do you know that this method is foolproof? What if someone dies under our hands, who will bear the responsibility? If you think you can teach me how to do things, then I'll call you teacher in the future. Ah! Jiang Wuxi immediately began to rain curses on Gao Liang's face. Gao Liang could feel the saliva splashing on his face. Hurry up and apologize to Elder Jiang. An old man hurriedly said. Gao Liang himself was also speechless. He didn't know what they were talking about. It was simply inexplicable. Looking at the faces of these people in front of him, Gao Liang suddenly slapped his own head. Why didn't he see that these people's faces were actually so ugly? It really made people feel disgusted. He only knew how to flaunt his past glory. It was as if he had never cared about the people from the outside world. It made people angry just by looking at them. Now that they had already given the method to them, they actually pretended to be virtuous and even had such a doubtful attitude. You bunch of old things, I've had enough. You all can play here by yourselves. Gao Liang said extremely angrily. Then, he threw his Imperial Physician Workshop token on the table, turned around, and walked out. Seeing Gao Liang's agitated reaction, Jiang Wuxia and the others were also shocked. Did Gao Liang's brain take the wrong medicine? Ask him to scram. In the future, don't even think about hearing Gao Liang's name in the medical world of Sacred Flame Imperial City. Thus, the group of old fellows closed the door again and did some self-righteous research inside. Gao Liang also felt that he was really blind to have mixed with this group of old guys for so long. Wang Ding and the others came to an extremely remote and dilapidated courtyard. They could even see that the surrounding walls were in tatters. The tiles on the roof were also in tatters. Just by looking at it, one would feel an extremely strong sense of crisis. How could people live in such a dilapidated courtyard? The surrounding streets had already been cleaned up. There wasn't even a dog in sight. You all stay outside, Li Zongjiu said. Wang Ding and the others didn't know what Li Zongjiu wanted to do, but since Li Zongjiu had given the order, they might as well wait here and see what was going on. The few of you, be on guard, Wang Ding said. Yes. Li Zongjiu walked in. There was almost no door outside the house. Even the walls outside were full of holes. It was doubtful if they could be used to block the wind. The surrounding was indeed filled with the smell of insect corpses. Don't be fooled by the fact that these people who play with insects carry a lot of insects with them all day long. In fact, they kill even more insects every day. So wherever they go, there will definitely be a large number of insect corpses. The number of insect corpses will definitely be beyond your imagination. Hence, Li Zongjiu asked those people to stay outside. If they walked in and saw such a horrible scene, they would probably be unable to sleep for several months. Your grandfather is here. What's there to hide? Li Zongjiu said indifferently. As soon as he finished speaking, he immediately felt a strong wave of energy surge out from the house. Boom! The bricks and tiles in the house flew directly towards Li Zongjiu. The loud noise also alarmed Wang Ding and the others outside. They looked at each other and immediately ordered to rush in. However, they saw Li Zongjiu's figure jump and chase after a figure. Whoosh! Li Zongjiu chased after the black figure in front of him and quickly swept away. That person turned around abruptly as he ran. With a flick of his hand, a pile of crimson insects that were shining with red light was thrown towards Li Zongjiu. Crackle! Explosive insects. Chapter 613. When the worms rushed towards Li Zongjiu waved his hand and released a terrifying yuan power. Boom! The worms in front of him were all shattered. The explosion in the air seemed to produce an intense light. When the people below saw this scene, they felt as if they were watching fireworks. However, Li Zongjiu's figure directly rushed out of the flames. The figure in front of him fled in a straight line. Li Zongjiu originally wanted to chase after him and kill him, but when he thought of using a long line to catch a big fish, he steadied himself and didn't continue the chase. He only restrained his aura and followed from a distance. I'd like to see where you people are going to run to. Li Zongjiu snorted coldly and his figure also disappeared into the darkness. The person who escaped was also a member of the Southern Region Poison Sect. Originally, he only wanted to stay here to ensure that the aphasia worms could display their true strength. However, he never expected that he would be followed. When he sensed the arrival of so many people, he realized that something was wrong. He immediately rushed out of the encirclement in a panic. Fortunately, I, Dao Xian, am smart. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if I was discovered. If the members of the Southern Region Poison Sect were caught, they would definitely end up in a miserable state. The elders should be on the move now. I can also join in the fun. Otherwise, I won't get any benefits. When Dao Xian thought of this, he hurriedly quickened his pace. However, Dao Xian was also considered smart. He was worried that someone was following him, so he deliberately took a few detours and finally walked towards a mountain forest. The mountain forest nearby was called Yuejing Mountain. On this mountain, one could bathe in the moonlight better. Therefore, whenever there was a full moon, Palace Master Yun Qi of the Purple Xian Pavilion would basically cultivate on Yuejing Mountain. On Yuejing Mountain, in a cave, there was a patio. The moonlight directly sprinkled on the body. Palace Master Yun Qi sat under the moonlight as if she was wearing a hazy gauze dress. She looked as if she was emitting a psychedelic color and light. Yun Qi kept swallowing and spitting. Every time he exhaled, the yuan energy in his body would condense by a little. Who? At this moment, Yun Qi opened his eyes. Within his gaze, he discovered that the surrounding stone walls of the cave had unknowingly been occupied by some highly poisonous scorpions. Yun Qi immediately knew that someone had come to deal with her. Immediately, a cold glint was emitted from Yun Qi's eyes. The aura on his body trembled and immediately sent those poisonous scorpions flying. Boom! After lifting up a large number of corpses, a continuous buzzing sound came from within the cave. While listening to the sound, the crowd was stunned. Palace Master Yun Qi, who had fought with these people before, did not hesitate to release the original energy in her palm. Lunar Ice Palm. Boom! Immediately, the palm energy burst out, and a faint blue light was released from his body. There seemed to be tens of thousands of insects in front of him that were easily beheaded. Phew! Palace Master Yun Qi took a deep breath. Then, with a loud bang, he was sent flying from a high place. Boom! Her figure appeared on the mountain peak, only to find that there were already people waiting for her. Hee, Palace Master Yun Qi, long time no see. You are still as elegant as ever. The old man in the lead said with a smile. However, there was a sinister feeling in his smile that made people feel extremely uncomfortable. Yun Qi also looked at the 6 figures around her. The other party had come prepared. However, Yun Qi was surprised that these people actually dared to fight within the imperial city. If they were to fight, they would definitely be hunted down by the Saint Flame Empire if their whereabouts were to be exposed. The Shengyan dynasty had known about these guys for a long time. The poison sect in the southern region was a poison sect that should be eliminated. That was why these people were so careful. Among the 6 people, except for one elder, the remaining 5 were all priests of the poison sect. Sacrificer. In the poison sect in the southern region, they were quite powerful. They lived with these insects from the moment they were born. Even they had no choice. In addition, they had great talents, which made them the most important members of the poison sect in the southern region. The most important training targets, the priests, were often the main fighting force. Then, there were the ordinary insect-rearing masters. These insect-rearing masters were basically doing odd jobs, rearing insects, and so on. They could not do anything else. You guys sure have guts. You actually dare to make a move here. Aren't you afraid of the secret guards investigating? Palace Master Yun Qi also said coldly. Top secret guards. If one were to compare them to the top secret guards, then they were like a group of high-level special envoys. The targets they investigated and even hunted down were the top experts in the underworld. Basically, there was no case that they could not solve or kill. They were also at a different level from ordinary people. This was because the top secret guards were the top 4 secret agents. They were the top experts in the Yuan King realm. Every one of them was extremely powerful and could not be compared to the people from the Special Envoys department. If one was targeted by the top secret guards, then it was basically over. The other party could mobilize the intelligence resources of the Shengyan dynasty at will. One would have nowhere to hide. However, under normal circumstances, these top secret guards would not attack easily. Most of the time, they were chasing after some extremely vicious people. So what if they are top secret guards? Do you think that only the Purple Xian Pavilion will look for partners? He. Chong Yi, the elder of the poison sect in the southern region, said slowly. If you are willing to come with us, then I can consider letting go of your companions in the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Tower. What do you think? Chong Yi said slowly. Yun Qi's strength was not weak. If he resisted forcefully and fought a tough battle, he might be able to take Yun Qi down. But correspondingly, it was very likely that Yun Qi would go to the extreme. If this body lost its vitality, it would be a waste. Therefore, not only did they have to capture Yun Qi, but they also had to capture him alive. If he died, then it would be a great waste. Chong Yi would not allow such a situation to happen. He had to take down Yun Qi first. As for the other people in the Purple Xian Pavilion, there were naturally ways to take them down slowly. Do you think I'm a 3-year-old child? If you want to catch me, then come and try. A long sword glowing with a light blue light appeared in Yun Qi's hand. As this sword appeared, it immediately overflowed with terrifying fluctuations. Buzz! The sword aura vibrated, like a frosty wave of air, directly hitting these people. In an instant, the sacrificers made their moves as well. Flying locusts killing formation. Chapter 6:14. Countless locusts rushed toward Yun Qi like a dark cloud. Yun Qi channeled his primary energy, and the sword in his hand seemed to emit a dazzling green light. The sword swept out like a mountain breaking a wave. It completely extinguished the locusts' killing formation. A terrifying aura spread out like a vast silver river. Rumble. Good timing. Attack. The two sacrificers at the side also yelled and charged toward Yun Qi. Boom. A terrifying aura burst out. A black light seemed to emerge from the bodies of the two sacrificers. When the black gold light was hidden in their bodies, it immediately made the Yun Qi in front of them feel a trace of threat. Bang! Bang! The sword in Yun Qi's hand continuously slashed at the two of them. However, it was as if he had slashed at two extremely hard iron plates. Immediately, there was a dazzling flash of light. The powerful rebounding force also caused Yun Qi to retreat. You chose to kill me tonight. You're really stupid. Yun Qi said coldly. Because tonight was a night with a full moon, the moon god technique that the people of Zishuan court cultivated could also improve their own attributes under this kind of condition. Their combat strength would also be twice as strong as usual. Therefore, Yun Qi's aura was quite sharp as well as his moves and styles. Palace Master Yun Qi, if you didn't mention it, I would have almost forgotten. We specially made a plan to target you. Today, we can see the effect. In the future, we can even promote it on a large scale. After Chong Yi finished speaking, the light in his hand flickered. The other two sacrificers also shouted in a low voice. The three of them opened their arms at the same time, as if forming an encirclement, and rushed toward the light. When Yun Qi saw the actions of these three people, he knew that something bad was going to happen. He must not let these people succeed. Immediately, Yun Qi's figure swayed, and he directly slashed at Chong Yi. Chong Yi was the leader of these people. If Chong Yi died, then the morale of these people would definitely plummet. Unfortunately, before Yun Qi could reach Chong Yi, he was stopped by the remaining two sacrificers. These two people practiced the body venomous insect technique. It was not the goo control technique. The so-called body voodoo technique was to directly raise voodoo worms with special abilities in one's body. Using this method, one could also make one's body extremely powerful and possess many inconceivable abilities. Two body venomous insect experts blocked Yun Qi's path. Their attacks were swift and ferocious. Coupled with the cooperation of the two, it was difficult for Yun Qi to break through. Not good. Yun Qi suddenly felt that his strength seemed to be rapidly declining. The originally bright night sky also became dim. Yun Qi was shocked. When he raised his head to look, he realized that the moonlight in the sky was gradually disappearing. A large number of insects occupied the Moonwell Mountain. The appearance of these insects could not be seen clearly, but the sound of their wings flapping could be heard. As these insects overlapped with each other, no moonlight could shine through. Who said only Tengu can eat the moon? My southern border's poison sect can do the same. Ha ha ha. Chongyi laughed heartily. At this moment, the entire Moonwell Mountain was plunged into darkness. At this moment, it seemed as though nothing in this world could stop these worms. Oh no! As the moonlight disappeared, the power of the sword light in Yun Qi's hand seemed to be getting weaker. Immediately, Yun Qi was shocked in his heart. Because he was interrupted in this state of cultivation, the effect of the power increase in his body had faded. Under normal conditions, the power of the moon god technique could only be considered average. Therefore, Yun Qi's eyes became solemn. Chongyi also joined the battle. The other two sacrificers were maintaining the huge swarm of worms in the sky, in order to prevent these worms from flying away. Therefore, someone had to be here to control them. A barb suddenly grew out from Chongyi's hand. With a bit of black light, it pierced towards Yun Qi. As it whistled, Yun Qi immediately felt the ferocious power. Boom! The sword in Yun Qi's hand was hooked away by the opponent. The other two sacrificers released a ray of black mist at the same time. Bang! Yun Qi raised his origin energy defense, but he was still sent flying. With a bang, he smashed into a big tree behind him. Cough cough. Yun Qi coughed violently. There was a trace of itchiness on his neck. Immediately, Yun Qi understood that he had been hit. He pointed a finger at his neck. Moon Sorrow Palm. Yun Qi slapped the big tree behind him with his palm. Immediately, the big tree was filled with a ray of silver light. Then, a terrifying ray of light was emitted from the big tree. It seemed that this ray of light had risen to an extreme state. Finally, with a bang, it turned into many fragments of light. Then, it suddenly flew towards the person in front of it. Be careful. In an instant, the tree transformed into thousands of silver lights that danced in the air and flew directly toward the person in front of it. Boom! Within the silver lights, an extremely terrifying explosion immediately broke out. It blew Chongyi and the other two sacrificers away. Fortunately, the two sacrificers stood in front of Chongyi and protected him. The three of them fell to the ground with a bang. At this moment, the light also gradually dissipated. It was easily suppressed. That girl can't run far. Go after her. Chongyi said coldly. They must not let that girl escape. It was not easy for them to find such a good opportunity to wait for that girl to leave the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Pavilion. Just as they were about to continue searching, a figure landed in front of Chongyi and the others with a whoosh. Elder, it's me. Dao Xian's figure landed on the ground. However, looking at the place that seemed to have just experienced an extremely fierce battle, he was extremely surprised. Why was there so much danger tonight? Why are you here? Why didn't you guard the camp? The previous encampment had already been discovered by the Tusk Battalion. They even brought an expert with them. If I didn't run fast enough, I would have died. Dao Xian said. An expert. Could it be? A ray of light flashed in the eyes of Chongyi and the others. Could it be that the person who colluded with the Tusk Battalion was a top-secret guard? If this top-secret guard was really investigating them, then it would be troublesome. No, definitely not. That guy's strength is only average. I shook him off in an instant. Dao Xian said disdainfully. If that guy was really a top-secret guard, then this top-secret guard was too weak. Moreover, Dao Xian could proudly tell others that he had once shaken off a top-secret guard. Just this proudness alone would allow him to boast for at least 10 years. That's good. Chongyi also heaved a sigh of relief. Logically speaking, they should not be targeted by these top-secret guards. After all, there were still people from the higher-ups who were taking care of things for him. For the time being, such a situation would not occur. Just as Chongyi and the others relaxed and prepared to continue searching for Yun Qi. Suddenly, they felt the surrounding temperature rise. It was constantly rising. Boom! What's going on? Why is it so hot? Not only that, the air seemed to be emitting a burnt smell. Boom! Suddenly, there was a violent explosion above his head. When they looked up, they saw a large number of flames appear. Originally, these flying birds were entrenched in the sky, trying to use their bodies to block the moonlight and directly cover the sky above the Moonwell Mountain. But now, large numbers of corpses fell from the sky. The corpses that fell were all covered in terrifying flames. Patter, patter. The entire flock of birds in the sky instantly turned into a sea of fire. The flames illuminated the few people's faces, making them red. Chapter 6:15. Boom! The entire sky was filled with a sea of fire. Quick, disperse the rest of the night crows. Chongyi immediately shouted. The two sacrificers quickly used their Gu control technique to disperse the night crow army in the sky. However, no matter how hard they tried, the night crow army in the sky seemed to have lost control. They only knew how to fly into the sea of fire and gradually lost their lives. It's really not easy to find you guys. A young voice rang out. The 6 of them were shocked and looked over at the same time. They saw a person appear on the mountain peak. They did not know when he got close, but he was slowly walking towards them. Who are you? Chongyi immediately shouted angrily. Li Zongjiu stopped in his tracks and pointed at the people in front of him. Why is it just the few of you? Li Zongjiu could not help but frown. It must be said that these southern border poison sect members were extremely troublesome. Sometimes, even if there were only 1 or 2 of them, it was very likely that they had thousands of troops under their command. It was not the kind of number that one could resist. Naturally, it would cause people to have a headache. These few people dared to cause trouble in Monarch City. Who knew how many powerful insects they had in their hands? It's you. Dao Xian recognized Li Zongjiu. Although it was in a hurry, Dao Xian still remembered Li Zongjiu's appearance. Elder, it's him. Dao Xian said in surprise. Thinking about it, shouldn't he have easily shaken off Li Zongjiu? Why was he still in front of him now? But no matter what, since Li Zongjiu had followed them here, they definitely could not let Li Zongjiu live. The southern region poison sect had never left anyone alive. Since Li Zongjiu saw them today, they would kill one more person. Looks like I can only kill you guys today. I thought there would be more of you. Li Zongjiu shook his head. There seemed to be some regret in his tone. Under normal circumstances, Li Zongjiu would not easily take the initiative to attack. The Yi clan was too arrogant and self-righteous. In the end, they became stubborn. Li Zongjiu had no choice but to completely destroy the Yi clan. Apart from that, there were also the people from Qing Yuan Manor and the southern region poison sect. Li Zongjiu basically killed everyone he saw. He was a man of his words and never let anyone go. Otherwise, Li Zongjiu himself was a person who did not like violence. Peace was the most precious thing, right? You want to kill us? Hee, brat, no matter who you are, you have said your last words. Chongyi said in a cold voice. The viciousness in his eyes was not concealed in the slightest. Regardless of Li Zongjiu's identity, he was a member of the southern region's poison sect. He had never been afraid of anyone. As soon as he finished speaking, the 2 body venomous worshippers beside him stepped forward. The body venomous technique that the two of them cultivated allowed their bodies to be close to the strength of a Yuan monarch elite. Previously, with Yun Qi's strength as a third-grade Yuan monarch, he was unable to suppress them directly. He would be restrained by them for a short period of time, which gave the other experts with the Gu control technique enough time to set up the bug formation. Furthermore, Yun Qi's state earlier was enhanced by the Moon God technique. Under normal circumstances, the time it would take to collapse would be even shorter. He didn't even need to fight. He could just run away. The two of them attacked Li Zongjiu from both sides. Li Zongjiu didn't make any preparations. When he saw that the two of them were close enough, he slowly took out the thunder beheading blade. Whoosh! A saber swept past. Boom! The terrifying power of thunder immediately rushed toward one of them like an octopus. Boom! With a loud sound, one of the sacrificers who cultivated the body venomous technique was directly hit by the power of thunder. Without any hesitation, he was instantly blasted into pieces. When it exploded, there was no blood spurting out. It was like a pile of shriveled and burnt insect shells. The pungent smell of burnt flesh filled the air. The other person saw that his companion was actually blasted into pieces with a single move. Although he was shocked, he knew that the other party had used up all his chances. He had to kill the person in front of him with a single move. Otherwise, when the other party had the time, he would definitely counterattack. Die, rock-piercing thorn. Immediately, the sacrificer's entire body left the ground. His body was parallel to the ground as he charged toward Li Zongjiu. In the process of flying, his body seemed to have become a sharp thorn. However, Li Zongjiu directly threw a punch. It hit the sacrificer's head. Immediately, a surge of origin power blasted into the sacrificer's body. His head, which originally had the power to pierce through mountains, was directly turned into a pile of fragments in front of Li Zongjiu's fist. The moment the fist and the head collided, it directly caused a violent explosion. Boom! The sacrificer's body also exploded on the spot, exploding into countless fragments. Two of the top experts in the southern border's poison sect actually had no power to fight back in front of Li Zongjiu. Seeing this scene, Dao Xian, who was lucky enough to escape before, suddenly widened his eyes. What, this person is actually so powerful. Even if he used the resurrection technique, it's not impossible to resurrect him. Dao Xian said coldly. His tone also revealed extreme fear. This was really unbelievable. Now he understood that Li Zongjiu let him escape before because he wanted to find this place. 1,000 insect killing array. The two worshippers of the Gu control technique lifted their black robes. Suddenly, there was a loud boom and a terrifying vibration swept forward. Boom! It was as if there was an additional black space in the space in front of them. In fact, this black space was filled with countless tiny insects. However, these insects were injured and did not fly very far away. They were burning with terrifying flames, just like the flames that burned the countless night crows just now. These terrifying flames instantly ignited the insects in front of them. They were directly burned to nothing. What? Not good, this person is skilled in flames, retreat. Ordinary flames could not burn these insects completely. Only some flames with special abilities could achieve such an effect. Obviously, the flames in Li Zongjiu's hands were filled with such power. Chongyi immediately shouted. The four of them hurriedly fled into the distance, at the same time using the insect escape technique. One of them changed his body on the spot, and with a boom, he turned into countless vampire bats. As for the other person, he simply drilled into the ground. Chongyi brought Dao Xian with him and flew into the distance. The four of them immediately fled, but unfortunately, Li Zongjiu did not intend to let them leave. Even if they struggled with all their might, it was useless. Regardless of whether they flew or drilled into the ground, they were all blocked by the terrifying blood wall in front of them. With a bang, Chong-yi and Dao Xian both crashed into the blood wall in front of them. Chong-ye's body instantly retreated, and he dashed to the side. However, Dao Xian was directly sucked into the blood wall. Blood continued to flow out from the blood wall, gradually wrapping around the Dao letter in front of him. "Elder! Save me!" Dao Xian immediately shouted, but his voice became softer and softer. In the end, his entire body was swallowed by the blood flowing down from the blood wall, and he was completely integrated into the blood wall. Realm power. Chong-ye's eyes were instantly filled with fear. He had never imagined that Li Zongjiu would be able to display the power of a domain. A face appeared from the ground, and it was the person who drilled into the ground just now. The sacrificer reached out his hand towards Chong-yi, but in the end, he could only reluctantly grab onto Chong-ye's shoes. His body was also gradually dissolved into nothingness. Without a doubt, the other person was also completely devoured. "You. Who exactly are you? My poison order of the southern region, what enmity do we have with you?" Elder Chong-yi took a deep breath. He knew that he could not escape this time, and now it was up to him to see if there was any room for negotiation. "Don't misunderstand, the enmity is not deep. I just don't like you guys." Li Zongjiu's figure appeared, and he said with a faint smile. The power of the blood spirit world seemed to be gradually increasing. Even the king's stage expert was digested in less than a minute. Recommend a good friend's fantasy novel, Divine Sacred Martial. Don't forget to vote after reading it. Chapter 6:16. Upon hearing Li Zongjiu's words, Chong-yi was taken aback. What did he mean by that? It was purely because he didn't like him. Could it be that this world had changed to killing someone just because they didn't like him? "Do you know who you have offended? The poison order of the southern region will not let you off," Chong-yi said coldly. He then looked around and continued to speak to Li Zongjiu. "If you let me go, I will treat it as if these people were killed by someone else. I will not reveal any information about you. How about that? I guarantee that the poison order of the southern region will not find trouble with you," Chong-yi said. At this moment, he also felt a trace of pressure. The blood spirit world around him also began to devour him. Hence, when the energy surged towards him, Chong-yi became nervous. Immediately, Chong-yi released his energy and formed a layer of defense below him. I will consider what you said." Li Zongjiu nodded. It seemed like a good idea. After hearing Li Zongjiu's words, Chong-yi thought that he had a chance. However, in the blink of an eye, Li Zongjiu's figure disappeared from the blood spirit world. What was the meaning of this? Didn't you say that you will consider it? Why did you leave? Hey, kid, don't go. After Li Zongjiu left, the blood spirit world did not disappear. To be precise, in Chong-ye's perspective, the blood spirit world's power was still there, trapping him within. "No!" Chong-yi shouted loudly. His elemental energy blasted out in all directions, trying to destroy the blood spirit world. However, all his energy was only integrated into the blood spirit world. Finally, from the soles of his feet, the melting force grew and melted Chong-yi. Ah! Chong-yi seemed to have fallen into a pool of blood. His flesh and organs were disappearing bit by bit, completely absorbed by the blood spirit world. The entire empty blood spirit world was filled with Chong-ye's painful screams. There was not even a single listener. Furthermore, Li Zongjiu had intentionally slowed down the melting speed of the blood spirit world. This way, Chong-yi would be able to feel the fear of death even more clearly. Li Zongjiu didn't care about Chong-yi at all. Chong-yi was probably still wondering if Li Zongjiu would suddenly appear and tell him that he had thought it through. Chong-yi didn't expect that since he had already decided to kill Li Zongjiu, why would Li Zongjiu give him the last strand of hope? Li Zongjiu's figure reappeared on the Moonwell Mountain. When Li Zongjiu released the blood spirit world would form a force and descend on this space. Looking from the outside, one would not be able to see what was happening inside the blood spirit world. At the same time, the blood spirit world was good at camouflage with the spatial attribute, making it look normal. It was like an illusory wall in disguise. However, it was transparent. One could enter the blood spirit world from this wall at any time. It was just that it was easy to enter, but wanting to leave was harder than ascending to the heavens. If Li Zongjiu did not summon the blood spirit world, the blood spirit world would be hidden in the blood dragon rune on the elemental bead. As the saying goes, a world in a flower. In reality, everything was infinitely big. It was just a matter of whether one had the ability to discover and use it. Come out. After hiding for so long, you want to ambush me? Li Zongjiu said indifferently. Yun Qi sighed. The person who came was none other than Li Zongjiu, whom he had met in the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Tower. He thought that he would not be able to escape this time. Even if he had to die, he could not fall into the hands of these Southern Border Poison sect members. Otherwise, he would definitely be tortured by these Southern Border Poison sect members until he wished he was dead. Once he fell into their hands, one could imagine his fate. It would definitely not be as simple as death. Just when Yun Qi thought that he was done for, Li Zongjiu appeared out of nowhere. This was the dream of many people, to be a hero saving a beauty. However, Li Zongjiu came alone. Moreover, he gave people the feeling that Li Zongjiu was not here to save Yun Qi. Even Yun Qi himself felt a little embarrassed about this. Initially, he thought that Li Zongjiu wouldn't have a good ending. However, when he saw Li Zongjiu kill all the people in front of him in just a few moves, he was shocked. At that moment, Yun Qi was shocked. This was too fierce. This young man actually had such powerful strength. When he was in the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Tower, Yun Qi had already faintly felt that Li Zongjiu's strength was extraordinary. Out of caution, he did not attack Li Zongjiu. Now, it seemed that this was a very wise decision. If he had attacked at that time, perhaps Palace Master Yun Qi would not have been able to survive until now. He had single-handedly defeated all the people in front of him. How could anyone believe that a mere young man could possess such strength? It was simply beyond their expectations. Just now, Palace Master Yun Qi took the opportunity to recover. In addition, the army of night crows in the sky had already been burned to ashes. The bright moonlight also appeared again, causing Yun Qi's moon god power to gradually recover. Thank you for saving my life, young master. Yun Qi also smiled slightly. However, Li Zongjiu could not see it because of the veil on her face. Thank me? Weren't you the one who wanted to kill me in the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Tower? Li Zongjiu said disdainfully. This woman in front of him could still smile. Did she really think that Li Zongjiu did not know? When Li Zongjiu was collecting protection fees in the Spring Flower and Autumn Moon Tower, he already knew that there was someone hiding there. Later, when he came back to investigate, he found out that these mysterious women in front of him were all from Zishuan Court. In his previous life, Li Zongjiu did not have much interaction with Zishuan Court because Zishuan Court went down the path of destruction very quickly. Even if there were people who survived, they were probably in hiding and didn't dare to show themselves. Hearing Li Zongjiu's words, Palace Master Yun Qi's face was also a little embarrassed. Obviously, she also realized that Li Zongjiu actually knew about her existence long ago. At first, she did not dare to believe it. However, when she saw Li Zongjiu's powerful strength, she realized that the elders of the poison cult in the southern region did not have the slightest ability to fight back and were directly killed. The whole process could be said to be very calm. There was not the slightest accident, and he killed them all so easily. Even she, who had the strength of a third-grade Yuan king, could not break out of the encirclement. These ruthless people were all killed by the young man in front of her. How could it be easy? I don't dare. Yun Qi only wanted to ensure the safety of the disciples of the same sect. If young master did not have any evil intentions, Yun Qi naturally would not do anything. This sentence was true. After all, no one wanted to provoke some top experts for no reason. For Yun Qi, wouldn't that be making enemies for Zixuan court? Even if I have evil intentions, what can you do? Li Zongjiu said faintly. There was also a trace of majesty in his eyes. This was the majesty of an expert. Chapter 6:17. Palace Master Yun Qi's expression kept changing. Until now, she still couldn't figure out the purpose of Li Zongjiu's visit. Could it be that he wanted to take revenge? Yun Qi believes that young master is a righteous warrior, Yun Qi said immediately. Anyway, he had to flatter Li Zongjiu first. At least, people cared about their reputation. The more powerful a person was, the more they would care about their reputation. If Li Zongjiu was praised to the sky, he would probably stay in the sky and refuse to come down. Don't give me that. I didn't ask you to come here for anything else. It's impossible for your Zixuan pavilion to survive under the pursuit of the poison cult in Nanjiang. Right now, your only choice is to cooperate with me. Li Zongjiu said. A cold light flashed in Yun Qi's eyes. How did Li Zongjiu know that they were from Zixuan Pavilion? They didn't come to the city under the banner of Zixuan Pavilion, and they also tried their best to hide all kinds of information about Zixuan Pavilion in order to avoid being traced. However, Li Zongjiu still knew about their Zixuan Pavilion. Could it be that Li Zongjiu was really so resourceful? Even if Yun Qi wanted to deal with Li Zongjiu, there was no chance. After all, Li Zongjiu's strength gave Yun Qi a sense of oppression. However, since Li Zongjiu mentioned cooperation, Yun Qi wanted to see what Li Zongjiu meant first. How do you want to cooperate, young master? So what if you know? We also know Li Zongjiu's background very well. Yun Qi thought. I want all of you to gather Zixuan court's forces and tell me all the movements of southern Xinjiang's poison cult. Also, give me all the information about the members of southern Xinjiang's poison cult. If there's any movement, report it to me and I'll naturally ferret them out one by one. Li Zongjiu said. These words made Yun Qi's eyes show a hint of surprise and doubt. What was this young man trying to do? Could it be that he wanted to throw away his life? Not only did he not hide from the poison sect of the southern region, but he also wanted to take the initiative to investigate the movements and whereabouts of these people. Wasn't this equivalent to handing his life over to them? This was an extremely dangerous thing to do. You mean, Palace Master Yun Qi couldn't help but ask. She looked at Li Zongjiu in surprise. I was just about to kill them all, but I didn't have enough information, so I spared your life. Li Zongjiu looked at Palace Master Yun Qi and said. If all of you are unable to be of any use, there is no need for me to act. The southern border poison sect will capture all of you sooner or later. These words were absolutely true. Even though they were hiding in Royal City, they still managed to find them. Moreover, they seemed to have figured out their whereabouts. After all, these people from Zixuan Pavilion already carried a hint of fear when they were being hunted down by Southern Border's poison cult. The other party's strength was too strong, it wasn't something they could easily resist. However, was this the kind of cooperation Li Zongjiu proposed? It seemed that Zixuan Pavilion didn't contribute anything during the entire process. They only needed to organize the collected information and make a backup copy for Li Zongjiu. It seemed very simple. There wasn't any problem. For Yun Qi, such a good thing was naturally something she couldn't ask for more. If Li Zongjiu was willing to deal with these people, it couldn't be better. These terrifying people. She could only invite such a terrifying person to deal with them. Don't worry, young master. Zixuan Pavilion will definitely do our best to assist young master. Yun Qi said hurriedly. Okay. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. Then, he turned around and prepared to leave. Otherwise, why would he continue to stay here? There were still Yuan inscription formations in Bailu Manor to be perfected. Now, Li Zongjiu also knew that he had to prepare to add something to his Yuan inscription formation. It was the camouflage formation. Once this killing formation was activated, the outside world would be able to clearly see the effects of this formation. In that case, wouldn't it be easy for others to study it? The strength of the Yuan inscription formation itself lay in its concealment and unpredictability. Therefore, Li Zongjiu also prepared to perfect it. In addition, there was also that guy, Lu Wenshan. Nantian Pil King was probably preparing the ransom during this time. This guy didn't seem to be so honest. If he made any more trouble, Li Zongjiu wouldn't mind killing him directly. Young master, wait a moment. Palace Master Yunqi looked at Li Zongjiu, who turned around and was about to leave. She quickly shouted. You're leaving too quickly. She couldn't help but think that Li Zongjiu's purpose was too simple. He simply wanted to kill all the people from the poison cult in the southern region. Therefore, he saved her life in passing. He didn't have any other purpose at all. Although her Zishuan court wasn't a top force, it also had its own characteristics. Nowadays, materialistic desires were rampant. If someone helped you a little bit and didn't take advantage of you, you would feel a little embarrassed. What's the matter? Li Zongjiu stopped and asked. Young master saved my life tonight. Yunqi also has something to tell you. Take it as a token of my appreciation. Palace Master Yunqi said slowly. Up until now, not many people knew about this information. Now that there was no one around and Li Zongjiu saved her life, it would indeed be a little ungrateful if she didn't tell him. Say it. The ninth prince, young Master Xian Ming, has already reached an alliance agreement with the Changxing Pavilion in order to obtain the Universe 9 revolving needle. Yunqi looked at Li Zongjiu and said. This was a matter that had caused an uproar in the Holy Flame Imperial City recently. Yunqi naturally had to pay attention to it. Oh. Li Zongjiu only responded indifferently. It even sounded like a piece of useless news. The ninth prince you're talking about is the trash from last time, right? Trash. Although the ninth prince's innate talent was ordinary, but after cultivating the bright moon Zhen Qi, his strength had also advanced by leaps and bounds. Now, his progress was so fast that although he couldn't be regarded as an absolute genius, but he absolutely couldn't be related to this waste. However, in Li Zongjiu's eyes, that ninth prince was just a trash. Now that Li Zongjiu was the strongest, he naturally wouldn't accept any rebuttal. Yunqi also wasn't stupid enough to argue with Li Zongjiu. Yes, it's the one who argued with you last time. Although the ninth prince's strength isn't to be feared, the people from the Changxing Pavilion who came this time are not simple. Yunqi said in a deep voice. The ninth prince's family background was just average. Although he had obtained the identity of a prince and was born noble, he might not be favored by the emperor. Even the position of the crown prince needed to undergo a fierce competition and fight. Before he became the real crown prince, everything was uncertain. Therefore, the ninth prince had no choice but to cooperate with Zishuan Pavilion and Yunqi. Who is it? The pavilion master of the Changxing Pavilion is here? Li Zongjiu asked. The pavilion master of the Changxing Pavilion was naturally a top figure. Even the current Li Zongjiu had to be somewhat afraid of him. For the time being, he couldn't have a conflict with such a top expert. After all, the Changxing Pavilion could become a top figure in the alchemy world. The pavilion master himself had supreme power. Although Li Zongjiu's strength was enough, Luoxia City might not be able to resist him. No, it's the young pavilion master of the Changxing Pavilion, Pei Si. Chapter 618. Young Pavilion Master, Pei Si. Palace Master Yunqi heaved a sigh of relief when she saw Li Zongjiu's expression turn serious. At the very least, Li Zongjiu was willing to listen to her. Pei Si's strength was not simple. On top of that, he was the young pavilion master. Not everyone could go against him. The young pavilion master is just a kid. Li Zongjiu squeezed out this sentence after a long time. Palace Master Yun Qi, who was beside him, was also stunned. What did he mean? Could it be that Pei Si, the young pavilion master of Changxing Pavilion, was just a kid in Li Zongjiu's eyes? Was he looking down on Pei Si? It had to be said that Li Zongjiu's temper was really arrogant. Did Li Zongjiu think that only the pavilion master of Changxing Pavilion could pose a threat to him? Did he think that Li Zongjiu was the only one who could make Li Zongjiu avoid him? Did he look down on the rest of the people? That was really shocking. Pei Si should be 25 years old this year. Yun Qi did not know how to continue the conversation. If he said yes, wouldn't he be more of a kid than Pei Si? Okay, I got it. Li Zongjiu waved his hand and said. Then, his figure disappeared into the night sky. Yun Qi's face was filled with shock and he could not calm down for a long time. Arrogant, conceited, self-righteous. I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse to work with such a person. Yun Qi was frowning. However, he had managed to escape a calamity tonight. This caused Yun Qi to become vigilant. These people had already infiltrated the sacred flame royal city. It was impossible to guard against them. Chong Yi said that there was someone behind the poison sect in the southern region. I have to investigate this thoroughly. Now that the city was in turmoil, there were all kinds of people mixed together. There were all kinds of strange situations that could occur. Therefore, in the face of such a situation, if one wanted to survive in this precarious situation, one needed to have sufficient strength and sufficient information. Although the night was thrilling, it was more or less a close call. Palace Master Yun Qi could not help but sigh. Her luck was really good. Li Zongjiu's figure flashed and returned to the White Deer Manor. He continued to carve the Yuan inscription formation. After all, the Yuan inscription formation's effect was very strong. In addition, it had a great effect on mental strength. Therefore, he had to replenish it. It might not be a bad thing to use such a method to cultivate during normal times. There must be a concealment array formation. Then, I have to think about what array formation won't conflict with this. As Li Zongjiu pondered, he quickly recalled a type of maze array. When activated, not only could it conceal the situation in the manor, but it could also create a maze effect. In Li Zongjiu's opinion, this kind of thing had a good effect. He would learn it in the future, and then he would study some other formations. After toiling for nearly an hour, Li Zongjiu had just finished carving the origin stones for the maze formation. After he finished setting it up, he was ready to test the effect of his formation. Suddenly, he saw a glimmer of light on the formation plate. This meant that someone had entered the manor. Although Li Zongjiu's manor was not very big, the front and middle courtyards were at least 500 or 600 square meters. It was not small at all. It just so happens that I was lacking a little white mouse, and you came in by yourself. Li Zongjiu thought and was not in a hurry to take action. Anyway, he wanted to try the effect of the maze formation first. He would kill those who did not necessarily break in. Occasionally, it would be a good choice to play with these little white mice in the palm of his hand. Whoosh! A nimble and vigorous figure jumped into the manor with ease. This Li Zongjiu is really bold. Now that he has gotten himself into such big trouble, he still dares to be so relaxed. Even I can come in so easily. If other people want to take your life, wouldn't it be even easier? Dou Ling thought to herself. In order to make tonight's operation more convenient, she had specially changed into a set of night clothes. The exquisite attire also accentuated Dou Ling's figure incisively and vividly, making it hard for people to take their eyes off her. Because of the Universe 9 rotating needle, the city had been very lively recently. Dou Ling had already heard that the people of Valley Immortal Sect and Spirit Valley Sect were here. They all wanted to deal with Li Zongjiu. Obviously, Dou Ling's own information was very outdated, because Li Zongjiu had already dealt with the people of Valley Immortal Sect and Spirit Valley Sect. Therefore, Dou Ling, who had received the news, was ready to appear at this time and give Li Zongjiu a chance. In this way, Li Zongjiu could give the Universe 9 rotating needle to her in such a serious situation. In this way, he could ensure his own safety. At least, he would not be killed by these people. Dou Ling would naturally attract all the firepower away. Therefore, this was also the last chance for Li Zongjiu. Such an action would definitely make Li Zongjiu grateful to her. Moreover, Dou Ling also wanted to show her strength. She wanted to directly appear in front of Li Zongjiu and use this method to tell him that if she wanted to take his life, it would be as easy as turning her hand. Therefore, in front of others, he was a dead man. After Li Zongjiu recognized his position, he would immediately hand over the needle to her. Of course, all of this was just Dou Ling's imagination. Therefore, she came uninvited tonight. Nothing at all. This Li Zongjiu can't even afford to hire a guard. If he is not around, what if he is robbed? Dou Ling's heart was already starting to get a headache from Li Zongjiu's foolishness. She was mainly worried that her things would not be stolen just like that. However, this thought was completely obliterated by the situation in front of her when Dou Ling took her first step. Whoosh! As soon as Dou Ling took her first step, she immediately saw a thick fog rising around her. When she saw the fog rising around her, Dou Ling was slightly surprised. Where is the fog coming from? Dou Ling subconsciously had an extremely bad premonition. It seemed that the situation in Bailu Villa was not so simple. Whoosh! The thick fog grew thicker and thicker. Dou Ling could no longer see the situation in front of her. When she walked out, she could not even see the wall behind her. Oh no! After a few turns, she could no longer tell the direction. Dou Ling was shocked. Damn it! This is a formation. However, it is impossible for a formation of this level to stump me. Dou Ling immediately released her mental strength. Boom! The fog was completely suppressed. When she looked around, the situation in Bailu Villa was finally revealed. Seeing that her mental strength was effective, Dou Ling's face brimmed with a proud smile. Humph, now you know how powerful I am. Under the tree in the atrium, Li Zongjiu and Shadow Fox looked at the formation plate in their hands. It seemed that the effect of their Yuan inscription formation had been eliminated just like that. In fact, when Dou Ling jumped in just now, the Howling Moon Wolf King and Shadow Fox had already noticed her. But when he went out, he saw Li Zongjiu here. Moreover, Li Zongjiu didn't look panicked at all, so he squatted beside Li Zongjiu. They wanted to see what was going on. Chapter 6:19. Li Zongjiu looked at the primordial stone in his hand, which was depleting rapidly. Immediately, he widened his eyes in surprise. Damn! What's going on? The intruder isn't weak. There was a grave look in Li Zongjiu's eyes. In just a few moments, the primordial stones in his hand, which were the foundation of the array, were also depleting rapidly. Finally, with a cracking sound, all the primordial stones were exhausted, and the primordial stones cracked on the spot. Obviously, the situation was very bad. How dare you destroy my primordial stones? Let's see how strong you are. Immediately, Li Zongjiu activated the Great Killing Array in White Deer manner without hesitation. Life Destruction Array. Boom! Dou Ling had already dispelled the fog that had gathered several times. Under the suppression of her mental energy, it was very easy to disperse the energy. After nearly 10 times, the white fog finally felt tired and stopped seeping out. Therefore, Ling was very pleased with herself. Let's see what other tricks you have. I'll break them all for you. Just as Ling was feeling pleased with herself, there seemed to be a sudden boom. Countless earth spikes rushed towards Ling. As they rotated, the incomparably sharp aura caused Ling to be quite surprised. There's actually such a strange yuan inscription array. At this moment, Ling couldn't understand the pattern of the yuan inscription array. Not only did the ground welcome the terrifying earth spikes, but there also seemed to be meteors falling from the sky. Boom! One after another, the tremors fell from the sky. The moment these terrifying forces fell, Ling's heart was deeply shaken. Ling didn't put up her own primordial chi shield. If she did, she would become a live target in this array. Therefore, Ling displayed her own figure and dodged all these attacks. Bang bang bang. From the stones on both sides, there seemed to be several extremely tough ropes that rushed out and swept towards Ling's head. Swoosh! If these ropes directly hit Ling, her head would definitely be blown off in an instant. However, Ling's speed was also very fast. Her figure flickered and easily dodged the ropes. Swoosh! So close! Just now, Ling had felt that terrifying aura pass directly over her head. She felt as if it could easily split her head off. Fortunately, Ling's bodies. Therefore, when these strange aura attacks from all directions, she was not in is. These two stones are the most. Linger was no fool. She quickly discovered the two stones in the corner. Although they were hidden in the dark and looked like a landscape, when Linger rushed out, the attacks of the surrounding array suddenly became extremely fierce. Rumble! Get out of my way! Countless black steel scythes flew towards Linger. It seemed that with a slight swing, it could directly split a person's head off. However, Linger was enraged. She immediately released the yuan power in her body. Boom! A powerful and violent explosion instantly sent the scythes in front of her flying. At the same time, Linger took advantage of this moment. In this array, after a strike, there would be 3 breaths of time to prepare. It seemed to be buffering for the next attack. Therefore, Linger was able to seize this opportunity. In an instant, she arrived in front of one of the giant stones. Medicine palm. Boom! His palm slammed onto the boulder. Immediately, the boulder in front of him shattered into pieces. The terrifying vibrations caused by the collision caused everyone to feel extremely shocked. The entire White Deer Manor seemed to be trembling. The giant black stone in front of her was shattered into pieces. The power of Linger's palm was not small. In the courtyard, the yuan stone in Li Zongjiu's hand turned into a pile of dust with a puff sound. Since a portion of the formation had been destroyed, the yuan rune array's disk array was naturally damaged as well. What? This time, it was Li Zongjiu's turn to be shocked. It seemed that the person who came was not simple. One must know that this being's obliteration array was a grade 5 yuan pattern array. It was specially designed to deal with Yuan King level elites. Furthermore, Li Zongjiu recalled that this being's obliteration array was based on some principles from 2,000 years in the future. It could be considered the latest Yuan pattern array. Therefore, even an Yuan rune array grandmaster who was still alive wouldn't be able to tell what kind of array it was when he saw the obliteration array. However, this array had only been refined for a short period of time, yet it was almost completely destroyed in one night. The enmity of the Grand Array, Li Zongjiu naturally could not let it go so easily. This was Li Zongjiu's blood, sweat, and tears. Li Zongjiu had spent a lot of money to create this Yuan pattern array. Li Zongjiu was about to set off to settle the score with this fellow. However, just as he stood up, another high-grade Yuan stone shattered. This meant that another part of the Yuan pattern array had been destroyed. The 2 giant stones in the courtyard had also been destroyed. See if I don't kill you with my sword today. Li Zongjiu's eyes glowed with a ferocious light. Suddenly, he saw a figure descend from the sky with a whoosh. A woo! The Howling Moon Wolf King shot up and chased after the figure. When the Howling Moon Wolf King rushed up, Dou Ling was slightly surprised. However, she quickly threw out a copper ring from her sleeve. The copper ring glowed and instantly wrapped around the Howling Moon Wolf King's neck. Creak! The Howling Moon Wolf King's throat was suddenly trapped. His entire body stiffened in the air, and then he fell from the sky with a whoosh. Bang! A huge pit was formed on the ground. Beast Trapping Lock. A glimmer of light flashed across Li Zongjiu's eyes. This was an extremely high-grade Yuan item. The person who could use the Beast Trapping Lock definitely had a strong background. The Beast Trapping Lock could trap the Howling Moon Wolf King, which meant that the person who refined the Beast Trapping Lock was at least in the primitive Emperor realm. Could it be that the person in front of him was an Yuan Emperor realm expert? Li Zongjiu, I came to save you out of kindness. Are you trying to take my life? Dou Ling's voice came from the sky. Then, Dou Ling's figure appeared from the house in front of him and rushed in front of Li Zongjiu. Doppelganger technique? Li Zongjiu was surprised. The person in front of him was actually Dou Ling, whom he had met in the Genius Pavilion. Chapter 620. Although Li Zongjiu knew that Dou Ling's identity wasn't simple, judging from her performance today, Dou Ling's strength was beyond Li Zongjiu's expectations. You broke into my house in the middle of the night just to save me. Li Zongjiu looked at Dou Ling in front of him. This girl's strength was really not simple. The Yuan rune formation he painstakingly set up was broken so easily. Li Zongjiu couldn't believe it himself. Then why did you set up so many traps in my house to take my life? Dou Ling said arrogantly. She originally wanted to show off her strength to Li Zongjiu, but under the threat of Li Zongjiu's terrifying formation, Dou Ling felt deeply threatened. So even now, she still had lingering fears. If the formation was a little stronger, or if someone was controlling it at that time, it would be difficult for her to escape. She didn't expect the outside world to be so dangerous. How do I know if you're here to kill me? Yes. Li Zongjiu said indifferently, then glanced at the struggling Howling Moon Wolf King on the ground. It seemed to be in great pain and was struggling desperately. Then Li Zongjiu walked up and gently tapped the Beast Trapping Lock on the Howling Moon Wolf King's neck. According to the rhythm of a special method, the Beast Trapping Lock was unlocked. Dou Ling observed Li Zongjiu's skillful movements. He seemed to have a deep understanding of the Beast Trapping Lock. The Beast Trapping Lock itself was made in a very special way. Once trapped, unless one knew how to break free, the Beast Trapping Lock would only bind them even tighter if one tried to break free. You actually know the method to unlock the Beast Trapping Lock. Dou Ling saw this scene and was very surprised. However, when she saw Li Zongjiu remove the Beast Trapping Lock and put it into his storage ring, Dou Ling's face turned purple. You shameless bastard. Give me back my Beast Trapping Lock. When Dou Ling saw Li Zongjiu acting like a bandit, she knew that things weren't going well. If this thing fell into Li Zongjiu's hands, then he would definitely take it for himself. You destroyed my Yuan rune formation and 2 upper-grade primordial stones. Take this Beast Trapping Lock as compensation. Consider yourself lucky. Li Zongjiu said slowly. There was a trace of anger in Dou Ling's eyes, but there was nothing she could do in the face of this rascal. You. Fine, I'll give you the Beast Trapping Lock, but you have to give me the Universe 9 revolving needle. Dou Ling said. Seeing that she couldn't get the Beast Trapping Lock back, she didn't insist. Although the Beast Trapping Lock was a precious item, Dou Ling had other things. Besides, Dou Ling did destroy Li Zongjiu's Yuan rune formation. Li Zongjiu already gave her a lot of face by not catching her and teaching her a lesson. Moreover, he only took away the beast-trapping lock. If it was someone else, they wouldn't be able to get their life back. Then you're too late. The Universe 9 revolving needle should have reached the Black Water Forest by now. Li Zongjiu waved his hand helplessly and said. What did you say? Dou Ling was shocked. She looked at Li Zongjiu in disbelief because she couldn't believe how Li Zongjiu did it. How did he manage to send the beast-trapping lock back? The journey to the Black Water Forest was very long. Could it be that Li Zongjiu also had a doppelganger technique that allowed him to send the item to a place that was thousands of miles away and then come back? How could such an important item be given to someone else to escort? Dou Ling couldn't think of anyone who could do this. Even Dou Ling wouldn't be willing to hand over something so precious to them. The risk would be too great if that was the case. You don't believe me? You can ask the old man in the Heavenly Star Medicine Mansion's library when he comes back. Li Zongjiu said indifferently. Looking at the primordial stones in his hand, he began to worry. These primordial stones were very important to Li Zongjiu. 2 primordial stones were wasted just like that. These primordial stones were something that couldn't be bought even if one had the money. Ordinary people simply had no way to come into contact with these primordial stones. Even if one had the money, without the channels, it would be impossible. The last time Li Zongjiu went directly to Qi Shaohun admired Li Zongjiu very much. Therefore, he made an exception for Li Zongjiu and used his authority to get some primordial stones for Li Zongjiu. However, if Li Zongjiu went to Qi Shaohun to ask for primordial stones again, it would be difficult for him to do so. So now Li Zongjiu could only think of his own way. Now that the primordial inscription array in the front yard was destroyed, only the primordial inscription array in the courtyard could still be used. The old guy in the library, it's that guy. I wonder why I haven't seen him these days. Dou Ling suddenly stomped her feet in anger. Since you have transferred the things out, why didn't you say so? Do you know how many people want to kill you now? Dou Ling said angrily. This was a matter of life and death. It wasn't something that could be settled so easily. Now that you've moved your things out, you don't even have anything to sign up for. Maybe those people will get angry out of humiliation and directly kill you. Anyway, these people often use this way to vent their anger. This made Dou Ling very angry. Although these things were very important, in her heart, she didn't want Li Zongjiu to be killed. You should leave with me now. If you continue to stay here, the people of Valley Immortal Sect and Spirit Valley Sect will not let you go. Dou Ling said with a dignified face. She stepped forward and was ready to pull Li Zongjiu away from here. The people you mentioned have been killed by me. Li Zongjiu stood still and let Dou Ling pull him away. Dou Ling, who was about to leave, was stunned. You have a fever. You can't be stupid, right? Did you take the wrong medicine? Li Zongjiu looked at Dou Ling, her stupid face and directly brought her to the stable. Until now, Elder Lu Wenshan from Spirit Valley Sect still looked like he was dying, but at least he could speak now. You! How dare you! How dare you, Spirit! Spirit Valley Sect! Spirit Valley Sect will not let you go. Chapter 621. After letting Dou Ling see Lu Wenshan, Li Zongjiu signaled Yinghu to close the door of the stable. He seems to be recovering a little. Go and work on him a little more. Li Zongjiu said. Yinghu immediately understood. Then, he took a hoe from the side and directly rushed forward. He hit Lu Wenshan's body a few times and seriously injured the body that was about to recover. You are too cruel. Dou Ling seemed to be unable to bear the sight of blood. She kept retreating. Just looking at the scene in front of her was enough to make people's scalps tingle. How could this guy be so terrifying? He actually directly captured Elder Lu Wenshan. This was incredible. Although Dou Ling didn't know whether that was Lu Wenshan himself, she could feel the strong yuan li that filled Lu Wenshan's body. At the same time, she also knew that Lu Wenshan was an alchemy expert. Although you have dealt with them, there will be a lot of trouble in the future. You may not be able to handle it. So, you should leave quickly. Dou Ling said. Well, I didn't have any good ideas. But since your skills are so good, we can make a deal. Li Zongjiu looked at Dou Ling and said. A deal? Dou Ling looked at Li Zongjiu with a trace of doubt in her eyes. Could it be that this Li Zongjiu has a more powerful needle technique than the 9 revolving universe needle? That's right. Don't you want the second half of the 9 revolving universe needle? There is only one original in the world, but there is still a living needle technique. Li Zongjiu said. Dou Ling reacted quickly. Her bell-like eyes stared at Li Zongjiu in disbelief. You mean, you have already learned the second half of the 9 revolving universe needle? Dou Ling's eyes revealed endless shock. After a long time, her lips moved slightly. Braggart. The universe 9 revolving needles was a needle technique that possessed supreme attainments. Originally, there was only the first half of it in this world. Later on, it gradually spread out. Moreover, there were many people who indirectly confirmed that the second half of the universe 9 revolving needles was in the Genius Tower. This was the reason why so many geniuses were attracted to participate in the assessment of the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor. Just the Genius Tower's grandeur alone was enough to make these students scramble like ducks. Who wouldn't want to experience such a training ground that could infinitely increase one's alchemy level? Even this kind of cultivation method was an unimaginable state that was difficult to describe. It gave people the feeling that one only needed to enter the Genius Pavilion, sleep, and have a very difficult dream. When one woke up, everything would be solved. The treasures in the Genius Tower made these geniuses go through untold hardships, even forgetting to eat and sleep to explore the Genius Tower. The universe record, Li Zongjiu opened his mouth and recited a short paragraph of text. Although it seemed simple, the text contained a myriad of meanings. An outsider might find it a little tongue-twisting, but to a true expert, it was undoubtedly as precious as a supreme secret manual. You actually learned it. If an ordinary person wanted to learn the first half of the universe 9 revolving needles, it would take them at least 70 years. This was only possible if they had a certain level of talent. Generally, pharmacists who had some basic talent would be able to learn slightly faster. The universe 9 revolving needles had a total of 9 sets of universe 9 revolving needles. The first volume recorded 5 sets of needle techniques, while the second volume only had 4 sets. However, the realm of these 4 sets of needle techniques was quite profound. It even went directly to another level. Although no one had seen it before, it could be roughly inferred. Even a genius would need at least 20 years to fully understand the universe 9 revolving needles. No matter how powerful Li Zongjiu was, it was impossible for him to recite the universe 9 revolving needles in just a few days or even directly learn it. This thing is not very difficult. Li Zongjiu said disdainfully. The reason why it was difficult for ordinary people to learn it was because they had not reached the realm yet. In fact, after reaching the realm, these things could be directly mastered. One only needed to look at it once to know what was going on. There was no need to spend more time to understand what the realm was. Therefore, Li Zongjiu only needed 2 hours to directly memorize the universe 9 revolving needles. This was because the original universe 9 revolving needles had a Yuan Qi seal on it. It was impossible to copy it, so one could only memorize it through recitation. Li Zongjiu directly memorized it, so now he could easily grasp it. You are too scary. Dou Ling already did not know what words to use to describe Li Zongjiu. Originally, the Universe 9 revolving needles was in Dou Ling-er's bag because she had already seen all the so-called genius experts in Tianqian medicine manner. Therefore, Dou Ling-er was not worried at all. However, after Li Zongjiu appeared, he directly overtook her in a few days. If this thing was taken away by others, wouldn't all her efforts be in vain? Moreover, with Dou Ling-er's temper, she would never allow anyone to be more powerful than her. However, the reality was cruel. Dou Ling-er also later realized that she could not catch up with Li Zongjiu, so she directly gave up. Now, Li Zongjiu not only got the thing in his hand, but also learned it all. This was already an extremely heavy blow to Dou Ling-er. One must know that it took her nearly a year to learn the first part of the Universe 9 revolving needles. Even now, she still needed to practice constantly to be able to integrate this needle technique. It was not really a true learning, but at most, it was a preliminary mastery. Tell me, what kind of deal? Let's make it clear first. I am a girl from a decent family. Dou Ling-er also said with some vigilance. She was not a person who would do any deal. If it was for this thing, there was no need to sell her most precious thing. Li Zongjiu rolled his eyes. This Dou Ling-er was too impatient. What was there to be concerned about with someone like her? What was so good about an immature little girl like her? After all, Li Zongjiu was an experienced person, not a young lad who had just opened his eyes. Aren't you very good at fighting? Then, for the next month, you can be my fighter. In a month's time, I will teach you the complete Universe 9 revolving needles. Are you serious? When Dou Ling-er heard this, her eyes suddenly lit up. However, she quickly became vigilant. No, I can't help you kill people. Killing people is illegal, and I can't see blood, Dou Ling-er said seriously. Chapter 622. I didn't ask you to kill anyone. Why are you so cruel? Li Zongjiu said with a look of disgust. It seemed that he despised Dou Ling-er's ruthless character. Yinghu saw that Li Zongjiu still had the face to show such an expression. He really admired Li Zongjiu. Speaking of cruelty, who could compare with you? After all, no one could casually split a person in half. Such a magnificent feat was not something that anyone could do. Then you want me to be your fighter? Be my fighter. That means you'll fight whoever I want you to. If someone comes to beat me, you'll help me beat him until he's scared. Li Zongjiu said. That's simple. Dou Ling-er looked at Li Zongjiu. Fighting was a common thing for Dou Ling-er. Therefore, Dou Ling-er directly agreed. Li Zongjiu nodded. You can't bleed. If you bleed, I will have to find someone to protect you. You have to be careful. Li Zongjiu said. Just now, Dou Ling-er said that she could not bleed. Obviously, Li Zongjiu also listened to her. She was so useless, yet she learned to be a night ranger. Originally, Li Zongjiu also had San Tong as his personal bodyguard. However, San Tong was also sent out by Li Zongjiu to practice his skills and improve his strength. He might not be able to return in a short time. In addition, there were so many things happening in the city recently. With Dou Ling-er's strength and identity, she would definitely be able to help Li Zongjiu. Humph, it's none of your business. Dou Ling-er did not explain why she could not bleed. No one knew what would happen after she saw blood. However, since she had already agreed to be Li Zongjiu's fighter, and it was only for a month, it would be over in a blink of an eye. Therefore, Dou Ling-er was also looking forward to it. After a month, she would be able to obtain the top 9 revolutions universe needle technique. This was something that she had been dreaming of. Yinghu, arrange a room for her. Li Zongjiu said. Young master, our courtyard is so small. Where can we find an extra room? Yinghu could not help but say. Then let her sleep in the study room or the woodshed. You. Dou Ling heard Li Zhongjiu's words and suddenly became angry. She wanted to catch this Li Zhongjiu and beat him. How dare he treat her like this? When she was in the family, she had to sleep in the study room and the woodshed. One must know that when she was in the family, she had a mattress with golden silk's peacock fur, 3 layers mattress had 3 layers STSSSS2's was to snows, she, okay. Inghu replied and then turned to look at Dou Ling. When he was about to say something, he saw the faint smile on Dou Ling's face. In addition, she inadvertently blew on her little fist. He had clearly seen Dou Ling's strength before. Even the Dark Knight army could not resist. More than half of the formation was directly dismantled by Dou Ling. Even after dismantling the Yuan inscription formation that the young master painstakingly made, the young master did not seem to do anything to her and even allowed her to continue living. This meant that the strength of the girl in front of him was definitely not simple. How about, you, sleep in my room, and I'll sleep in the study room. Inghu hesitated for a while and even said in a probing tone. What do you think? Dou Ling stretched her body and seemed to be preparing for a good exercise. Inghu could only say in his heart that a wise man knew better than to fight when the odds were against him. Then, he directly walked into his room and tidied up his things. Inghu usually had obsessive-compulsive disorder, so the room was neat and tidy. Dou Ling was very satisfied with the appearance. At the very least, the table and the cupboard were spotless. You, from now on, guard the door for me. You're not allowed to go anywhere. Dou Ling pointed at the Howling Moon Wolf King and said. The Howling Moon Wolf King was originally lying in the courtyard. Its shoulder was the responsibility of guarding the entire manor. Now, a woman actually dared to come and order it around. Immediately, the Howling Moon Wolf King revealed its ferocious appearance. It bared its tough fangs and its eyes were filled with ferocity. It seemed as if it was ready to bite off Dou Ling's neck in the next second. On the other hand, Dou Ling very naturally swung a small collar in her hand. The collar also rotated on her slender fingers. When the originally ferocious Howling Moon Wolf King saw this scene, the expression on its face immediately receded. Its mouth full of fangs also directly retracted. At the same time, it obediently wagged its tail and walked to the front of Dou Ling's house. Right on the stairs, it laid down outside. Looking at the loyal expression on its face, it was not easy for anyone to get close to Dou Ling's room. After all, the Howling Moon Wolf King could feel the power of the beast trapping lock in Dou Ling's hand. When it fell from the sky just now, the Howling Moon Wolf King was severely injured. All of its power seemed to have been sealed at that moment. This feeling caused the Howling Moon Wolf King to feel a lingering fear. A Yuan beast was very sensitive to dangerous things. Therefore, the incomparably ferocious Howling Moon Wolf King directly admitted defeat and acted as a loyal gatekeeper at Dou Ling's door. Purple Pill Institute. At this moment, South Heaven Pill King was also full of hostility. At present, Vice Principal Jing and the others were also gathered in the reception hall. The Elder is here. There was a slight change in South Heaven Pill King's eyes. The Elder's identity was not simple. He was one of the founding elders of Spirit Valley sect. In the realm of alchemy, he was even more skilled than South Heaven Pill King. Although he had not broken through the realm of the 6th grade yet. But within the next 10 years, he would definitely break through. Not long ago, this elder had managed to successfully concoct a grade 6 medicinal pill under an unexpected circumstance. This meant that this elder's strength would increase by another step. In the end, he would reach the realm of the 6th grade alchemist. If he became a 6th grade alchemist, his status would also rise. This was a matter of no doubt. Elder Tsang-Chu, welcome. Vice Principal Jing Yuan had a smile on his face. Looking at the looming figure outside, he hurriedly went up to greet him. However, when he approached the old man, he felt a sharp gaze locking onto him. Beside the elder, there was a black-robed swordsman. Because it was dark, he did not see the black-robed swordsman for a while. "Vice Principal Jing, you're too polite. Have a seat. This is my old partner, Black Mountain Sword King." "You're Black Mountain Sword King. I've heard a lot about you." Chapter 623. Although the current South Heaven Pill King's alchemy skills were slightly worse than Song Chu's, his innate talent was still very strong. Even now, they were almost on par with each other, and the gap between them wasn't too big. "I didn't expect the Black Mountain Sword King to come." Pill King Nantian cupped his hands and said. He greeted Elder Tsang Chu. The combination of Tsang Chu and the Black Mountain Sword King was the golden combination of Spirit Valley sect. Although Tsang Chu's combat power was not very strong, he could often exert a powerful force with the help of the Black Mountain Sword King. The two great Yuan monarchs had been inseparable for decades. It was because of this that the reputation of Tsang Chu and the Black Mountain Sword King was like thunder to the ears. Compared to him, Vice Principal Jing Yuan was far inferior in terms of both status and strength. However, this was a rare opportunity. "Is your D not here?" Tsang Chu questioned Jing Yuan. As a senior in the alchemy world, there was no need for him to be too courteous with Jing Yuan. Even Jing Yuan himself had to be incomparably respectful towards Tsang Chu. Within the Purple Pill Academy, only their dean could speak with Tsang Chu. Previously, they could be considered to have met face to face. As for Jing Yuan, he had never heard of him. The dean is in seclusion." Jing Yuan's face was also a little embarrassed. "Nantian, tell me the situation." Since the dean was not here, there was no need to pay attention to Jing Yuan. So what if he was the vice dean? In Tsang Chu's eyes, he was not worth mentioning. Arrogant, condescending, this was Tsang Chu's attitude. Even Tsang Chu himself had such an arrogant temperament. This was emitted from the inside out. Whether it was alchemy, Yuan Qi cultivation, or even contributions to Spirit Valley sect, they were all incomparable to outsiders. Even Nanshan's status was slightly lower than Tsang Chu's. However, Tsang Chu wouldn't ignore this South Heaven Dan King. A genius elder like the South Heaven Dan King was highly sought after by all the sections. Moreover, the Longevity Pavilion was eyeing them covetously. Therefore, these people had to unite these genius alchemists. In the future, if they were to compete with the Pavilion of Longevity, they would have to rely on these middle-tier powers. "Elder, the current situation is like this," the Nantian Pill King then explained the whole story to them. After hearing this, Tsang Chu angrily slapped the table. "Too arrogant. This kid is playing with fire and getting burned." Tsang Chu could not hide the killing intent on his face. This was a clear provocation to Spirit Valley sect. Such actions were undoubtedly a challenge to their sect's dignity. They could not easily forgive such a thing. They would definitely chop this Li Zongjiu into 8 pieces. "Black Mountain, let's go. I would like to meet this Li Zongjiu," Tsang Chu said and was about to move. Black Mountain Sword King also picked up his sword and was ready to fight. However, he was stopped by Pill King Nantian. When Pill King Nantian said this, he did not mention that Li Zongjiu had humiliated and blackmailed him many times. He only said that Li Zongjiu threatened him with Elder Lu Wenshan's life and even wanted to fight to the death with them. Therefore, the South Heaven Pill King had no choice but to retreat for the time being. He did not mention that Pill King Nantian had been defeated. If word of this got out, wouldn't it be a very shameful thing? "Elder Tsang Chu, please calm down. Li Zongjiu is sinister and cunning. Tonight, he even used a Yuan rune formation. Even Fang Liuxin of Valley Immortal Sect was defeated. This matter is not simple." Elder Tsang Chu's strength was very strong, but his character was too impulsive. He would go and fight with others for no reason, and he would do it until the end. Therefore, the Nantian Pill King had to stop Elder Tsang-Chu. What's more, the people of Chongqing Pavilion have not made a move yet. Maybe they are preparing to be the oriole behind the mantis stalking the cicada. Tsang-Chu calmed down after hearing Pill King Nanshan's words. What happened before was not a big deal. However, the people of Chongqing Pavilion were the ones that Tsang-Chu was afraid of. If they were confident, they would have made a move long ago. Why would they wait until now? There must be some unspeakable secret behind this. Their Spirit Valley sect was fighting to be the first, wave after wave. If they were to reveal their strength, wouldn't it be a waste of their efforts? In front of such an old opponent, it was better to preserve their strength and not relax. Rescuing Elder Lu will require further planning. What good idea do you have? We can't give 100 upper-grade primordial stones. We won't even give a single lower-grade primordial stone. It was not that they could not afford it. If he were to give it to Li Zongjiu, wouldn't it be equivalent to him admitting defeat? Spirit Valley sect would lose face in the future. In the future, if there was any situation, the enemy would definitely find out and poke at their sore spot. It's not that there is no way. After saying that, the Nantian Pill King looked at Vice President Jing Yuan. We just got the list. 2 days later, Heavenly Pill Pavilion will hold an exchange banquet for alchemists. Li Zongjiu is also on the list. Vice Principal Jing Yuan coughed dryly a few times and said. With Li Zongjiu's strength, it was not strange for him to participate in this exchange banquet. After all, this kind of exchange banquet was also to promote the exchange between the senior alchemists and to better integrate and utilize the resources. Not only were there people from the major alchemy institutions, but there were also some people from the Medicine Union, some independent alchemy experts, some alchemists from the Alchemy Hall, and alchemy aristocratic families. As long as their strength reached the standard, they would also accept the invitation. Heavenly Pill Pavilion did not say that they did not want people like Spirit Valley sect to come. In fact, they did not believe that these people would be willing to participate in such an exchange banquet. They would probably steal the limelight of this exchange banquet. It was also a very honorable thing. Therefore, they were very welcome to come. On that day, Elder Tsang-Chu and I went to the banquet to delay Li Zongjiu. Black Mountain Sword King took the opportunity to sneak into Li Zongjiu's house and rescue Elder Lu Wenshan. Nantian Pill King said. The last time I went there, I already checked. In Li Zongjiu's house, there is a Yuan King Realm Yuan Beast and a mysterious Yuan inscription formation. Nantian Pill King looked at Black Mountain Sword King. Black Mountain Sword King's skinny face did not show the slightest change. His eyes slowly focused, and finally emitted a strong killing intent and a disdainful will. I can kill a mere Yuan beast with one sword. As for the Yuan inscription formation, I can break it with one sword. His indifferent tone was filled with boundless arrogance. It seemed that in the eyes of Black Mountain Sword King, there were no more than 3 swords to solve the world's problems. It was very simple and crude to solve. Alright, since that's the case, it's settled then. Those people from the Longevity Pavilion will definitely make their move during the banquet. It's been a long time since I went to meet these old rivals. Tsang-Chu's eyes flashed coldly as he spoke. I'll leave the invitation to Vice Dean Jing Yuan, Nantian Pill King said to Jing Yuan. It's a small matter. Chapter 624. Although Tsang-Chu said that it was a request, it sounded like a command. However, it gave people the feeling that it was an order. Although Jing Yuan was unhappy, there was nothing he could do. The other party's strength was so strong that he couldn't offend him casually. In fact, the reason why the Purple Pill Institute could achieve its current status was because of the support of the Spirit Valley sect. Of course, it was also because of the South Heaven Pill King who acted as the middleman. That was why it was so simple. If they lost this big boss, the Purple Pill Academy wouldn't be able to compete with the Heavenly Star Medicine Manor and the Four Seas Medicine Manor. It wasn't difficult for the Purple Pill Academy to increase the number of slots. Elder Su Hong of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion was also very happy recently. Su Hong was naturally aware of some of the things that had happened in the city. However, as the chairman of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion, he couldn't be biased towards any side. The existence of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion was a very strange position. It obviously came from the influence of the imperial court, but it wanted to take over the alchemists of the underworld. Therefore, the most important thing for the Heavenly Pill Pavilion now was to stabilize the various forces and establish a good relationship between them. Only in this way could they lay the foundation for future development. The Longevity Pavilion was high and mighty. They didn't even care about the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. However, they took the initiative to come and participate in the exchange banquet that would be held in a few days. For the Heavenly Pill Pavilion, this was a historic move. If the Heavenly Pill Pavilion could get the Longevity Pavilion to join them, the influence of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion would undoubtedly be greater. In fact, although the establishment of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion was aggressive, they didn't dare to be too ruthless. Once these alchemists had some resistance in their hearts, it might cause some trouble. However, if the Longevity Pavilion joined them, it would undoubtedly increase the prestige of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. In the early stages, they could borrow the prestige of the Longevity Pavilion. However, in the later stages, the strength of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion would also increase. At that time, it would be time to get rid of the donkey after it had outlived its usefulness. Everything was like this. As for what kind of end you would end up with, it would depend on what kind of strength you had. Grandfather, is there a hidden reason why the people from the Longevity Pavilion suddenly want to participate? In front of Su Hong's desk, a girl in white brought Su Hong a bowl of 100-herb tea. The formula of the 100-herb tea was personally created by this girl. It could strengthen one's body and enhance one's physique. Su Hong looked up at the girl in front of him. That disappointing son of his had brought him a very capable granddaughter, which made Su Hong very happy. He even told his granddaughter most of the things that had happened in order to train his granddaughter to become his successor. Helping the Shengyan dynasty unify the entire alchemy world was not an easy task. If he couldn't see it happen in his lifetime, then he could only place his hopes on the next generation, or even the generation after that. The white-clothed girl before him was Su Hong's most beloved granddaughter, Su Sha. Oh, it's Sha Sha. I've already drunk a few hundred cups of your 100 herbs longevity tea. If I continue drinking, your grandfather will be immortal. Immortality is a good thing, Su Sha said. When the time comes, I'll research a kind of medicine that can rejuvenate you. Su Hong immediately laughed out loud. Being able to have such a happy person by his side could be considered as making up for a trace of tranquility amidst the chaos in this world. If I'm not wrong, these people are here for one person. Su Hong's tone changed, and he also became serious. Who? Someone called Li Zhongjiu. A trace of curiosity flashed in Su Sha's eyes. At the same time, she quickly recalled the information about this Li Zhongjiu in her mind. Li Zhongjiu, the person who was bestowed the qualifications of an alchemist by the emperor last time. Is the Longevity Pavilion interested in him? However, after giving it some thought, she realized that was not quite right. Their Longevity Pavilion had never been so humble. They had always been extremely aloof. No matter how much of a genius you may be, they would never take the initiative to invite you. If you wanted to join the Longevity Pavilion, you would have to go through some very strict tests. It was precisely because the Longevity Pavilion had never lacked geniuses that they never thought highly of alchemists from the outside world. They were also extremely interested in the inheritance of their own sections. If they were to recruit a person with evil intentions who barged into their sects to steal their inheritance, wouldn't that be extremely troublesome? It's him. However, I don't think these people are here to recruit him. You know about the Universe 9 revolving needle, right? Yes, I heard that someone took it out from the 14th floor of the Genius Tower some time ago. Moreover, it was the second part. Could that person be Li Zongjiu? This matter was quite serious at that time. However, without certain connections, it was difficult to obtain this information. Su Sha was in charge of other matters previously. Now, Su Sha was considered a small trainee deacon in the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. There were many things that she had to deal with every day. After all, this was the headquarters of the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. If there were any matters in the lower branches, they would first be sent here to be dealt with. Su Sha now needed to sort out some information. Her daily affairs weren't easy. The reason why he had arranged such a position for Su Sha was so that Su Sha could understand the general situation in Holy Flame Royal City. This would allow her to have a better understanding of the situation in Holy Flame Royal City in the future. It would be easier for her to take over the job. Everything needed to be done slowly. Yes, the purpose of these people is the Universe 9 revolving needle in Li Zongjiu's hands. I originally thought that Li Zongjiu would quickly hand it over and even sell it for a good price. However, it seems that he didn't do so. Moreover, it seems that he doesn't intend to sell it. Su Hong said. In fact, Su Hong himself didn't know Li Zongjiu very well. However, if he did so now, it would be different from Li Zongjiu's temper. Could it be that this little Li Zongjiu dares to go against the Chongqing Pavilion? Not only the Chongqing Pavilion, but also the Spirit Valley sect and the Valley Immortal sect. These two sects have already fought with Li Zongjiu. Moreover, the people of the Valley Immortal sect seem to have all disappeared overnight. Moreover, Lu Wenshan of the Spirit Valley sect seemed to have been captured by Li Zongjiu. Su Hong said. In fact, the Heavenly Pill Pavilion didn't have much jurisdiction over this matter. They didn't even know much about the specific situation. After all, the actions of the Spirit Valley sect and the Valley Immortal sect didn't need to be reported to the Heavenly Pill Pavilion. The Heavenly Pill Pavilion itself wasn't good at tracking and collecting information. There were other imperial court organizations in charge of this matter. What, this Li Zongjiu is too powerful, Su Sha's eyes were filled with shock. It wasn't that simple to go against these forces. What's so powerful about it? The more he acts like this, the faster he'll die. These sects are like scoundrels. If the small ones can't do it, the big ones will do it. If the big ones can't do it, the old ones will do it. There's no end to it. When they go crazy, they don't even care about gains and losses. Sometimes, the life and death grudge between two great sects is caused by a small matter. There's no need for such a situation to happen too often. Su Hong said. This was the bad habit of those great sections. They didn't know when to stop. Even if they saw the coffin, they wouldn't shed a tear. For them, face was everything. However, it was precisely because of this that no one dared to provoke the people of these great sections. Because of this, they would often pursue to the end. Chapter 625. Listening to what he said, it was indeed very reasonable. However, Su Sha was also very interested in such a person who dared to barge in. If there's a chance, I would like to meet this person. Su Sha said. Her heart was filled with curiosity towards Li Zongjiu. Such a person was indeed rare. Nowadays, which person in this world didn't bully the weak and fear the strong? They were always trying to curry favor with those in power. Although Su Sha's understanding of Li Zongjiu was limited to a few words, she knew that he was definitely someone who was able to stand up to these powers. To be able to do something like this, she knew that he was definitely a lofty and arrogant individual. Such a person was either alive or dead. Now that he had finally found a living one, of course, he had to take a good look at it. By the way, is the 6th grade elixir ready for the exchange? Su Hong asked. Although Su Hong was concerned about Li Zongjiu, he would never take it too seriously. After all, no matter how bad Li Zongjiu was, he was only one person. It was impossible for him to turn the world upside down. Relying on the strength of this person alone, it was impossible to change the situation of this world. It's ready. This time, it will be used for the lottery. The elders in the backyard have designated it as Xianyang grass. Xianyang grass will not be weak. The banquet will be held the day after tomorrow. Go and confirm it again tomorrow to ensure the accuracy of the list and to ensure that everyone is informed. Su Hong said. Don't worry, Grandpa. I have already confirmed these things. Su Sha said. Then I will continue to work. There are still 3 cities' new names that have not been sorted out. I will go and check again. Thank you for your hard work. You should also pay more attention to your body. When the banquet is held, dress up well so that I can introduce you to a few young talents. I think that Jiang Biayuan from the Jiang family is not bad. Su Hong's ridicule only made Su Sha speed up her pace. She simply ignored Su Hong, who was constantly shouting behind her. TSK, I think that the kid from the Jiang family is not bad. He is handsome and his strength is not bad. The Jiang family's background is also not bad. They can be considered to be well matched. Of course, all of this was just Su Hong's free imagination. The next morning, Li Zongjiu opened his eyes. The Yuan bead dragon tattoo in his body trembled slightly. Finally, it returned to its calm state. For the entire night, the white god Fu was constantly circulating and reciting in his mind. However, when Li Zongjiu wanted to take out the blood bat sword and study its attributes, he chose to give up. It was better to be safe first. Even though he had the experience of his previous life, he was not completely confident when facing this thing. Li Zongjiu naturally had to remain calm. If he were to act rashly, he might bring harm to his cultivation. Young master, Taifai is here. When Yinghu saw Li Zongjiu walking out of the door, he hurriedly stepped forward and said. Naturally, he did not dare to disturb Li Zongjiu when he was cultivating. What is he doing here? Did something happen? After that, Li Zongjiu went to the guest hall to receive Li Zongjiu. When he passed by Dou Ling's room, he saw the Howling Moon Wolf King lying in front of the door with an aggrieved look. It looked at him as if it was begging for mercy. Li Zongjiu didn't care about the spineless Howling Moon Wolf King at all. He could just sit there and slowly enjoy the fear he was feeling. Since even Li Zongjiu was unwilling to lend a helping hand, Yinghu naturally did not dare to look at it. At most, when the opportunity arose, he would secretly send some meat to this fellow to improve his diet. Before Li Zongjiu entered the room, he saw Taifai pacing back and forth. What's wrong? Is someone here to cause trouble? Li Zongjiu asked. When Taifai heard Li Zongjiu's voice, he immediately went up to Li Zongjiu excitedly. Young master. Young master, big news, big news. Taifai said as he came forward. Don't worry, speak slowly. Li Zongjiu was surprised to see Taifei, the man who dominated the casino, behave in such a manner. Young master. Du Liani was also sitting there. However, because Taifai was blocking her, she did not see him. Young master, Baihui Business Alliance invited us to join them. It's Baihui Business Alliance. Taifei excitedly said. If it wasn't for the solemnity of the scene, he would have almost started dancing with joy. He wished that he could jump up and down in excitement at this moment. Li Zongjiu rolled his eyes at Taifai when he heard that. He thought it was something big. It's just a business alliance. What's so great about it? Young master, Baihui Business Alliance is one of the top 10 business alliances in Sacred Flame Royal City. Even the 4 great families are members of Baihui Business Alliance. Du Liani said. Rather than calling them members, it was better to say that they were just members in name. However, one had to admit that Baihui Business Alliance was powerful. Sacred Flame Royal City was vast. Just the population alone exceeded a few million. Moreover, the daily flow of people was also quite large. Therefore, in terms of business, it was naturally perfect and developed. The competition was fierce. Even the four great families were members of Baihui Business Alliance. This was enough to show the strength of Baihui Business Alliance. In this city, every shop could be considered a merchant. However, if one's business was not big enough, it would be impossible for one to be invited by the merchant union. This was because there was a limit to the number of businesses that could join the business alliance. For example, Baihui Business Alliance had become a top-notch business alliance. However, the number of businesses that joined the alliance was only 99. Even the four great families joined Baihui Business Alliance. However, Baihui Business Alliance was only ranked in the top 10. Obviously, the competition between business alliances was very fierce. There were also many powerful businesses. The four great families are also here. Then this business alliance should be quite powerful. If Li Zhongjiu had to deal with these messy matters, it would be relatively complicated. If the 100 Hui Business Alliance brought people to kill them, then it would be relatively easy to deal with them. Li Zhongjiu would just have to kill them when the time came. However, now that they had invited him, Li Zhongjiu could not weigh the pros and cons. He still needed to discuss it with Taifai and Du Liani. Baihui Business Alliance's strength is at least ranked in the top 5 in Sacred Flame Royal City. The benefit of joining the business alliance is that you will be able to enjoy the discounts of other businesses. Even some resources that are not available to you will be able to circulate within Baihui Business Alliance. Du Liani said. Li Zhongjiu did not seem to be very interested. Therefore, he directly explained the pros and cons of joining the business alliance. As for the requirements of joining the business alliance, other than being invited, you have to pay 50 million purple yuan every year. Taifai added. So much. Li Zhongjiu was not very interested in the terms and conditions of joining the business alliance. To Li Zhongjiu, he was not very sensitive. However, when he heard that he had to pay so much money, Li Zhongjiu's eyes widened. I haven't made any money from you yet, and you want to take away so much money from me? There were almost 100 businesses that joined the business alliance. If each of the 100 businesses had to pay 60 million purple yuan, the membership fee alone would be close to 6 billion purple yuan. Moreover, this was a stable income every year. Wasn't this too much of a fisherman? Although this number was not small, it was a ticket to enter the high-end market. If they could make good use of it, the profits would definitely be more than this. However, looking at Li Zhongjiu's expression, Taifai and Du Liani could not help but feel a little worried. What if Li Zhongjiu did not agree? I'll leave these matters to you. As long as you can make money, you can do whatever you want. However, Li Zhongjiu was not a pedantic person. Seeing the changes in their expressions, he immediately said. The two of them thought that Li Zhongjiu would refuse because joining the business alliance was bound to have certain restrictions. However, this was a rare opportunity for business people. The reason why they were able to get this opportunity was because of the destruction of the Yi family. Therefore, when the White Deer Manor merged with the forces under the Yi family, the people of the Baihui Business Alliance went straight to Taifai. Then what should we name our business alliance? In addition to being excited, they also wanted to confirm this important point. Once they joined the business alliance, it would not be a small matter anymore. We still need a name. Then let's call it Li's Jiangshan. Chapter 626. Li Zhongjiu said without thinking. As soon as he said that, not only Taifai and Du Liani, but even Yinghu, who was outside the mall, almost fell down. Li's empire? Are you trying to rebel? Now the whole world belongs to the Shengyan dynasty. Does Li Zhongjiu want to take it away? This is obviously an incredible name. No one dares to have such a name. Young master, this name doesn't conform to the rules. According to the rules, it can only be so-and-so Chamber of Commerce, so-and-so Trading Company, and so on. Tai-Fai braced himself and said. If you tell Li Zongjiu this, you can't say it like that. Maybe it will trigger Li Zongjiu's rebellious mentality and make Li Zongjiu insist on such a name. That will undoubtedly bring disaster to himself. Even if he wants to rebel, in the current situation, he can only think about it. If he says it out loud, he will probably lose his head. Well, then we'll call it Li's Chamber of Commerce. Li Zongjiu said. It doesn't matter what the name is, as long as its surname is Li. It won't be so troublesome to deal with this matter. This is okay, it shouldn't be a problem. Tai-Fai and others looked at each other and breathed a sigh of relief. If Li Zongjiu insisted, it would be hard to say. By the way, young master, I've found the thing you asked me to investigate last time. Tai-Fai glanced at Du Lianyi, and finally his eyes fell on Li Zongjiu. Go ahead. Xiao Tianche, the son of the Imperial Guard commander, is now the deputy commander of the Right Army of the Imperial Palace. His latest activity is the guard work of the Alchemist Exchange meet in Monarch City tomorrow. Tai-Fai said. Xiao Tianche, that is, Du Lianyi's enemy. When Du Lianyi heard this name, her whole body trembled. She wanted to twist this person's head off, even if it would splatter blood all over her body. Monarch City Alchemist Exchange Meet, what a familiar name. When Li Zongjiu heard this name, he thought carefully for a while. Alas, I'm old and I forget things easily. I'm supposed to attend this thing tomorrow. Well, you come with me tomorrow. I'll take his head off for you. Li Zongjiu said. The first sentence was the first sentence. It was strange that he was old. Old. Was old. Was old. And they were in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. They were all old monsters. Then, those in their 30s, 40s or 50 years, were old, they were old. Is saying. Is true. Du Lianyi couldn't believe it herself. Li Zongjiu actually wanted to bring her to personally witness the scene of him killing his enemy with his own hands. How can it be fake? Li Zongjiu said indifferently. But, I heard that the quota for this exchange meeting is very precious. It's not easy to get one. Now that the meeting is about to start, where can we get extra invitations? Tai-Fai said with a frown. If I, Li Zongjiu, want to go to a place, why would I need an invitation? But if you want an invitation, don't we have a master of forgery here? Li Zongjiu looked at Yinghu, who was listening attentively. When he saw Li Zongjiu looking at him, Yinghu was stunned. What's there to fake? I never fake. That's better. I'll leave the matter of the invitation to you. Come to me tomorrow and we'll go there together. Li Zongjiu said. Now, he had to continue studying the Yuan rune array. At the same time, he was preparing to make a trip to the black market in the Sacred Flame Royal City. Li Zongjiu needed to obtain some of these Yuan stones. Otherwise, his Yuan rune formation would be in a half-destroyed state and Li Zongjiu would suffer a loss. He was going to participate in the exchange meeting tomorrow. Maybe someone would rush into the White Deer Manor and rescue Lu Wenshan. After all, Li Zongjiu was alone. Li Zongjiu couldn't possibly bring Lu Wenshan with him. The only way was to repair the Yuan rune array. You stay in the manor today. If anyone comes in, beat them out. Li Zongjiu said to Do Ling, who had just woken up. This girl was so good at sleeping. Who was going to protect who? Looking at Do Ling's sleepy appearance, Li Zongjiu didn't count on her anymore. Don't worry. I'm here. Don't worry. After Do Ling finished speaking, she went back to her room and fell asleep again. Li Zongjiu had explored the black market in his previous life. This time, he didn't need someone to lead him. He only needed to find the person to enter the black market. Sacred Flame Royal City had a longevity street that specialized in selling incense. The entire street was filled with shops that sold incense and candles. However, Some people who were dressed very cautiously could be seen walking in and out. They seemed to be in a hurry, but they didn't seem to be buying incense or anything like that. This was the famous Ghost King night market in the city. Incense paves the way and ghosts open the door. If one wanted to enter the night market, one had to know the door. If there were no ghosts to open the door for you, it would be difficult to find the door. Even if you found it, you wouldn't be able to enter. Li Zhongjiu came to the Longevity Street and found a relatively large incense shop. Walking in, the shop was filled with things like wreaths, shrouds, coffins, firecrackers, and the like. The few shop assistants were weakly using the feather dusters in their hands to sweep the non-existent dust on the corner of the wall. Even when they saw Li Zhongjiu walk in, they didn't move at all. It was as if they didn't see him. "Is the boss here?" Li Zhongjiu asked directly. "Why are you looking for the boss?" A waiter turned around and asked. This waiter was as thin as a match and his face was devoid of any color. He looked like a living corpse, which really made people feel a trace of fear. "Buying a coffin. How much did you prepare?" 3 gold and 2 silver. When the 2 waiters heard this, they looked at each other. Then, they took down a large roll of incense and candles from the counter. "Follow me." The design of these codes was passed down to the present day and not many people cared about it. But as long as they matched, they could enter the black market. One of the shop assistants continued to look after the shop, while the other gave Li Zhongjiu a shroud for Li Zhongjiu to wear. The candles in his hands were lit. Then, he walked towards the cellar behind the counter. In fact, the shroud only looked like a shroud in appearance. In reality, it was a yuan tool that could conceal one's aura and appearance. However, it was suitable for use in the black market. This was because the black market itself had a huge yuan pattern array. Transactions in this place were always done with cash and bank notes. There were absolutely no promissory notes. In the pitch-black passage, one couldn't see where the end of the road was. Li Zhongjiu walked for about 200 steps before he saw a solid wooden door in front of him. "Have fun on the Yellow Springs Road." The shop assistant pushed open the wooden door. After Li Zhongjiu walked in, the door behind him closed with a bang. This was an underground street. Chapter 627. Li Zhongjiu had had enough of those idiotic rules when he walked into the Ghost King night market. These people were really good at causing trouble. This was an underground street, and above their heads was an extremely thick floor. Above the floor, there were also countless patterns that were flickering constantly. Obviously, this was an yuan inscription array. The underground street looked the same as the Longevity Street on the surface. However, there were more temporary stalls on the side of the road. If one wanted to get some good stuff, one would have to walk around and take a look. No one knew where these people would stay. Generally, people who came to this kind of place to sell things basically did not have stolen goods. As for the price, it was up to fate. Some of the shops were relatively strong. If you were in a hurry to get rid of the things in your hands, you could sell them to these recycling shops. This way, you could quickly cash in, and there would be no worries. The only drawback was that the price would be very, very low. As long as one could bear it, there was nothing to say. After all, high returns also came with high risks. Since others were willing to bear the risk for you, they would naturally want to take some benefits from you. The people walking on the street were in a hurry. If they were not accompanying companions, they would basically keep a distance from strangers. In this black market, fighting was not allowed. Otherwise, the yuan inscription array above their heads was no joke. A bolt of lightning could strike them at any time and turn them into ashes. Furthermore, this entire street was managed by a special force. Otherwise, this street full of treasures would definitely be filled with bloodshed and chaos. No one would dare to trade in such a place. Naturally, there would be no benefits to speak of. When it was first established, there were often some people who wanted to forcibly leave with their things. However, the end result was obvious. The road to the underworld was not a place where one could come and go as one pleased. The fact that this Ghost King night market could exist for such a long time already proved the strength of the person behind it. Even a Yuan monarch elite would not easily cause trouble in this place. Li Zhongjiu walked into a shop with 3 lanterns hanging on it. The shops here were also divided into different grades. The more lanterns there were, the more precious and higher the grade of the items inside. At the same time, it also showed that this shop had existed for a long time. He. What would you like to order, dear customer? Our shop has just brought in 20 new female slaves from the western region. This is their introduction list. After purchasing, you will be provided with a certificate from the Ministry of Revenue. I guarantee that it will be clean. Take a look. Trafficking in human beings was, of course, illegal. However, in this Ghost King night market, it was a common thing. Many people would even come because of its reputation, this shop with 3 lanterns. Trading? You guys are really scumbags. Li Zhongjiu frowned when he heard this. Of course, he was wearing the shroud and his voice had changed. At the same time, Li Zhongjiu's expression could not be seen clearly. Even his appearance could not be seen clearly. However, his height could not be changed. The shop owner could not help but smile when he heard Li Zhongjiu's words. How many good people could come here to trade? It was just that Li Zhongjiu did not like this kind of trade. It was common for people to open their doors to do business. Therefore, the shop owner did not care. Since you are not interested in these foreign girls, what do you want? As long as you say it, I can get it for you. As for the price, I will give you a 10% discount since you are a new customer. In this kind of black market, face did not matter. No one knew who you were. Only money was real. Only when you made money could you talk about other things. Yuan stones. Li Zhongjiu said. Things like primordial stones should be relatively common in this black market. For example, some of the new weapons forged by the workshop would always be in this black market. As a result, it naturally attracted the attention of the primordial stones. As long as it was something that could make money, they would carry it out. Whether it was legal or not, it did not matter. In this underground world, there were no rules to speak of. Yuan stones, this thing, you can have as many as you want. What kind of yuan stones do you want? The shopkeeper's face suddenly showed a smile. I'm not bragging, but in this Ghost King night market, there are 108 shops, and only my primordial stones are of the best quality. The other shops are all just to make up the numbers. If you don't pay attention, you'll be cheated by them. Come to my shop, I guarantee that you'll be happy buying and using it without worry. High-grade primordial stones. If it's the best, then supreme-grade primordial stone. Li Zhongjiu said. When these words came out, the shopkeeper's face suddenly froze. From Li Zhongjiu's body, he did not see anything strange. This person in front of him, his tone was too arrogant. After coming to this black market, he actually dared to make such a direct and grand transaction. A upper-grade yuan stone, its value was very high. If you can't take it out, then don't waste my time. Li Zhongjiu said, turned around and prepared to leave. He did not even give the shopkeeper time to react. He only knew that he was about to lose a big customer. Such a big customer, how could he let him leave so easily? Wait, who said that I don't have it here? You wait. The shopkeeper turned around and walked into the storage room at the back. With a series of crackling sounds, he directly opened the extremely tightly sealed treasure chest. Soon after, he took out a box that was locked with an yuan pattern lock. Dear customer, this is the upper-grade yuan stone you want. After a series of operations, the box was opened. Immediately, the contents of the box were displayed in front of Li Zhongjiu. When he saw the crystal-clear stone in the box, Li Zhongjiu's eyes narrowed slightly. There was some satisfaction in his eyes. Just by looking at it, the quality of this yuan stone was close to perfect. Such a high-grade yuan stone was very rare. Basically, once it was dug out, it would quickly be secretly sent to other places. Therefore, it was very difficult to see such a high-quality yuan stone in the market. Only one. Li Zhongjiu was not some country bumpkin. Even if the quality was high, it was only a single upper-grade yuan stone. Could it be that high? Li Zhongjiu had seen a lot of high-grade primordial stones before. Therefore, he did not care at all. You. How many do you want? Since he dared to ask for such an exorbitant price, it was obvious that he was not an ordinary rich person. Maybe he was a super customer, so he must seize the opportunity. I want as many as you have. Li Zhongjiu directly placed a bottle of pills on the table. The bottle was full of fifth-grade pills, nearly 20 of them. In terms of value, a fifth-grade pill was worth between 10 million and 50 million purple yuan in the market. The value of a single upper-grade yuan stone was about 1 million purple yuan. However, this was the black market. The things they sold would be more expensive, and the things they sold would depreciate greatly. No matter where it was, a fifth-grade medicinal pill was an absolute hard currency. The shopkeeper could not wait to open the bottle in his hand. There were 20 fifth-grade pills inside. Seeing so many of them, he immediately sucked in a breath of cold air. This was a big business. Chapter 628. He had been in this business for so long and had seen many things, but he had never seen someone who could take out 20 fifth-grade elixirs in one go and exchange them for high-grade primordial stones. In the outside world, one fifth-grade elixir could be exchanged for 2 or 3 high-grade primordial stones, but in this black market, it was at most 1-to-1. 20 fifth-grade elixirs, 1-to-1 exchange, I will give you 20 high-grade primordial stones. The shopkeeper knew in his heart that this was definitely a big deal, but on the surface, he still had to continue to remain calm. If he changed hands, the profit would be several times more. Just today's list was enough for them to eat for several years. Okay. Li Zhongjiu said indifferently. It seemed that in Li Zhongjiu's eyes, as long as he could get the high-grade primordial stones, he did not care about other things. You wait for me here. The shopkeeper said, and also put Li Zhongjiu's elixir bottle in his pocket. He turned around and walked to the counter behind him. This time, he also went deep into it, and seemed to have entered some kind of secret warehouse. Then, he took out a big box, which contained 20 high-grade primordial stones. The transaction with Li Zhongjiu was separated by a counter. First, it was to protect each other, and second, it was to ensure each other's safety. Although it was called a black market, except for the price, it was still very good. These things were clearly marked with prices. If you could not afford it, then you could just not buy it. In this aspect, there was naturally no problem. 20 high-grade primordial stones, all of them are here. The shopkeeper put the primordial stones on the table and let Li Zhongjiu have a look. Generally speaking, the shopkeeper of this store was quite honest. At least the high-grade primordial stones in front of him were some real goods. Some people were good at construction, and liked to put some defective products, or even some depleted primordial stones in here to make up the number. When you took it back, you would find that the weight of the primordial stones was not enough to be called high-grade primordial stones, but from the appearance, it was very shiny. If you did not know the trade, or if you were a little careless, it was very likely that you would be directly fooled. Do you have any top-grade primordial stones? Li Zhongjiu directly put away the 20 high-grade primordial stones, and then put a porcelain bottle on the table. From the looks of it, it was obvious that he wanted to buy the entire store. Again. The shopkeeper was slightly surprised. Li Zhongjiu's tone, top-grade primordial stones, it was really not something that ordinary people could get their hands on. He looked at Li Zongjiu again and again. Anyway, in the night market with the Ghost King, he was under the protection of the Ghost King. What else could happen? High risk, high reward. If he did not dare to take this risk, how could he dare to do business in the night market? Friend, I'm not bragging, but as long as the money is in place, I can even bring down the moon of Tian Shan Mountain. The shopkeeper said proudly. Then he reached out and grabbed the bottle in his hand. When he opened it, he saw that there were 25th grade primordial pills, exactly the same amount as before. He was delighted. However, the expression on his face didn't seem to be one of relief. Friend, do you know that if you want to get a top-grade primordial stone, the price you have to pay is much higher than the price of a high-grade primordial stone? You should at least add a little more. The shopkeeper said. This kind of probing tone was also to take advantage of Li Zongjiu. Anyway, this Li Zongjiu looked like a person who was not short of money. Since this was the case, there was nothing to worry about. Let's just take advantage of Li Zongjiu. He would not let go until he saw the last rabbit. Then I'll add this high-grade primordial stone. Li Zongjiu smiled slightly, then took out a high-grade primordial stone from his arms and put it on the table. 5. The shopkeeper of the Shady Inn stretched out 5 fingers. Li Zongjiu did not say anything and directly placed 5 high-grade primordial stones on the table. Straightforward. Wait for me here. After saying that, the shopkeeper took away the 5 high-grade primordial stones and went directly to the counter behind. Such a precious thing, of course, should be placed in the secret room. After Li Zongjiu saw the shopkeeper go in, he turned around and closed the door, directly extinguishing the lanterns. The corner of his mouth slightly curved into a cold smile. His figure disappeared on the spot and appeared directly behind the counter. Why did Li Zongjiu come to such a place to buy things? Wasn't it because these people were enough to cheat? Since Li Zongjiu dared to slander him, he didn't say that he couldn't do the same to Li Zongjiu. Therefore, if Li Zongjiu were to make a move, he would naturally be happy in his heart. He had never heard of anyone who could take advantage of Li Zongjiu. If you take away from Li Zongjiu, even if it is only a hair, then Li Zongjiu can take away a piece of meat and a bone from your hand. Supreme-grade primordial stones, actually want to take away my supreme-grade primordial stones. In a while, I will inform Lord Ghost King and directly kill this guy. This way, I will directly show filial respect to Lord Ghost King. Who knows, maybe my shop will be upgraded by a grade. At that time, the taxes will be even cheaper. The shopkeeper opened the door of the secret room and walked in. However, just as he walked in, he suddenly heard a little movement behind him. Just as he turned his head, he saw Li Zongjiu walk in first. Bang! A punch landed on the shopkeeper's face, directly sending him tumbling down the passageway. A plop sound. Aya! Li Zongjiu waved his hand and an invisible flame lit up the surrounding torches. This place was indeed worthy of being called a black shop's treasure trove. In addition to a mountain of purple yuan coins, there were also a large number of treasure chests scattered on the ground. One could see that the scattered items on the ground were extremely diverse. Li Zongjiu's mental energy swept across and the first thing he found was a storage ring. This ring was placed in the most conspicuous place. At the same time, the ring was enveloped by a layer of light. This layer of light seemed to be extremely dim, but when one approached it, a ray of light would flicker. This was the power of the Yuan pattern array. Kid, every item in here corresponds to the Yuan pattern array. If you don't find the correct method, you will not be able to open it. The shopkeeper, who had regained his senses, spat out a mouthful of blood and said. At the same time, he quietly took out a button from his chest. This button was specially used to call for help. Since these people opened shops in the Ghost King night market, they had to pay a high protection fee. Therefore, they also enjoyed some corresponding rights and protection. When there were people causing trouble, they would not be able to escape. The people from the Ghost King Palace would appear to help solve the problem. You dare to fight in the Ghost King night market? You are dead, kid. The shopkeeper said in a cold voice. What era is it now? There are still people who don't know the rules. Today, I will let you know what it means to regret it. Li Zhongjiu did not pay attention to the shopkeeper. Looking at the light screen in front of him, his mental energy immediately penetrated it. These light curtains were like some complicated yuan pattern locks. If one were to forcefully destroy these yuan pattern locks, it would definitely destroy everything under the protection of these yuan pattern locks. It was a very dangerous thing to do. This was called destroying jade and common stone. However, this was also the final guarantee. If someone broke it open with brute force, then wouldn't this thing become someone else's possession? Seeing that Li Zhongjiu seemed to be reaching out to grab the ring, the shopkeeper's heart was in his throat. This could be said to be the treasure of his shop. But now, it was trembling in Li Zhongjiu's hand. No, if it was destroyed in Li Zhongjiu's hands, then even if he killed Li Zhongjiu, there was no way to make up for the loss. However, what happened next made the shopkeeper's eyes pop out of their sockets. It was as if Li Zhongjiu had just passed through a basin of water. He effortlessly took out the ring. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.